Hello and welcome back to Total Football, where we have arguably the tie of the last 16 round ahead of us. Very exciting. We've got Real Madrid versus Man City. Joining myself, Dougie Critchley, on the sofa today, we've got Joe Tomlinson, we've got Michael McCubbin, we've got Zach Jalab. What a lineup for your viewing pleasure. Absolutely enormous game. McCubbs, host Real Madrid, have been pretty impressive this year, coming back from a pretty horrible year last year.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I think Zidane's proved a lot of doubters wrong this season, especially after coming in at such a tumultuous time, kind of about 12 months ago, wasn't it? Just after they lost to Ajax in the Champions League, he seems to have integrated kind of new players into the squad. He's getting the best out of the old heads as well. Obviously, we've seen Benzema carry on his tremendous form from last term as well. But I think. This tie couldn't have come at a better time for Man City. Real Madrid are winless in their last two in the league. I think they've gone 1-0 down in each of their last three league games, despite winning that one against Osasuna a couple of weeks ago. So in terms of confidence, it's probably at its lowest in a while at the Bernabeu. Not to take away from performances, they've generally been pretty good still, but. For example, Benzema hasn't scored. I think he scored one league goal this calendar year. There's a few question marks over it. But I think, in general, I think Real Madrid probably go into this tie as favourites.
Yeah, I like it.
What's going on with Man City.
So potentially a good time for Man City to play them. But Joe, Pep Guardiola, for this massive game in their season, has made some pretty interesting calls.
It's unbelievable. I'm looking at the team sheet in front of me here now, and it's brave, to say the very least. I mean, Raheem Sterling obviously coming back from an injury, so he was 50-50 whether he was going to be risked from the start. He hasn't been risked. But the dropping of Aguero and Fernandinho in particular is, to me, a big risk. I know that Gabriel Jesus has been fantastic on the road this season, but against Madrid at the Bernabeu, not to start Aguero, it's either a massive show of faith in Gabriel Jesus or a massive mistake. And I think it's going to be the latter tonight. I also think not playing David Silva in a game of this magnitude is slightly dodgy. He's obviously gone for a much more defensive midfield because of that. But it's still a very strong Man City team. Let's have it right. My concern is the back line, I think, is there to be got at tonight. Otamendi in particular. I think Otamendi... I've just got images of him being isolated, Walker pushed too high, and Vinicius running at him, and a head loss going on. And then Gabriel Jesus, I just hope he doesn't get bullied, because I've got as well images of Ramos and Varane chucking him around like a schoolboy. But this is a hell of a night to step up and prove a point. If you're Gabriel Jesus, if you come into this game tonight and you score one or you score two away at the Bernabeu against probably the best centre-back pairing in world football, arguably, other than Liverpool's, I think you probably get in that starting position nailed down for the big games, in particular looking ahead to next season when Sergio Aguero, is he going to be there, is he not? Gabriel Jesus, is he going to be there, is he not? I think that maybe the Champions League ban pending has weighed on this decision a little bit.
Ooh,
really?
I like it. Well, we will get into that in due course. Zachary,
hello, my
please
friends.
Can you explain how the people can get in touch and what your take on this Champions League ban is? Because you've obviously been one of the most well-read in the office about the situation. Could you explain to the people after explaining how to get in touch?
Yes, so this is Total Football. All you have to do is comment on the YouTube video in the comment section with the hashtag TFS, and I will be asking your questions to the boys. You can also get at us on Twitter, atting us, literally, or the Football Daily account. Now, as for City themselves, just trying to reload my memory now from last week. But yeah, they were found guilty. They have appealed today, officially appealed the decision, and are going to be banned for the next two Champions League seasons if they don't get it taken away. So basically what happened is FFP. They overspent on FFP. They put way too much. They recorded too big of a loss. I think they were allowed about 25 million and they recorded way over that. So the kind of big punishment they got for it was being banned for the Champions League. Now, there are other things as well by saying where have you kind of got this money from that you're reporting, which will probably, I think, more will come to light in the appeal case as well, because City are also coming back and saying, hey, how come PSG are getting away with it? How come Juventus are getting away with it? But that being said, I think Juve are also being looked at as well. So short, like very small, it's not taking too much time. FFP is basically what they've kind of screwed up on, or what they've been found out for. And instead of like, say, Chelsea missing a transfer window for something else, or other clubs maybe not getting as big of a punishment, this is the atomic bomb. It's the big one.
UEFA have gone pretty hard for them. And rightly so from what we've read about it. But obviously pending that appeal, so we'll wait and see. Joe, on a playing side of things, what sort of impact do you think it will have on the squad? Will we see big names leave, or do you think it will be mostly sort of carry on as it is?
I mean, it all depends for me on Pep Guardiola. If Pep Guardiola stays, and he's obviously said publicly, hasn't he, a number of times that, look, I'm staying for the long haul here. Even if we went down to League One, I would still be at this club. And I kind of believe him. I think he will see out his contract now because of this ban. I actually thought pre the ban that he might leave in the summer, but if he was to leave in the summer now under these circumstances, I think he might feel like it's a bit of a job half done. So he's going to stay out the contract, I think. And I think because of that, the majority of stars will stay. I think your Raheem Sterlings and your Agueros, in particular, are going to stay because they feel such a connection to Pep Guardiola. Raheem Sterling, for instance, has talked about a number of times, hasn't he, how much Pep has developed his career. And it's for us all to see, really, how much of a new height he's taken Raheem Sterling to. And that kind of loyalty to Pep, I think, will remain there. What I do think is that for maybe a Kevin De Bruyne, I know you mentioned him there, and I know today he's come out and said I won't be joining Real Madrid. I think that if it means you miss out on the Champions League, which it would for Kevin De Bruyne in this instance, he wouldn't be back in the Champions League until the age of 31, if it wasn't for this summer. I think if they don't win it this season, and I was Kevin De Bruyne, I would be pushing for a move away from the club. I would be pushing for a move to a team that are going to be competing hard in the Champions League, be it Bayern Munich, Juventus, Madrid or Barcelona, and I'd be saying, look, you can't deliver on what you've wanted to do. I've won everything domestically with Man City already. I've won the Premier League, the FA Cups, the League
Domestic
Cups.
troubles.
I've won the lot. I want to win the big one, and the big one is the Champions League. And if Man City physically can't deliver on it, I would be thinking of leaving if I was KDB. If I was Aguero, I'd probably, you know what, my time's come and gone. I'm 31. I'd be 34 when the ban was lifted. Same for Fernandinho. He'd be 37, I think, when the ban was lifted. So for Kevin De Bruyne more so, I would be thinking about leaving. But he won't. He won't, will he? He'd be priced out of a move. And let's face it, this ban might be a positive for the Premier League next season for them. They might just be able to focus all their attentions on the domestic and overtake Liverpool again. So I don't think anybody will leave, but I think KDB might be considering it secretly, despite saying publicly he's going nowhere.
Yeah, I think luckily for City, they've actually, I mean, this news has come at the good time in terms of their contracts in their squad as well. I think it's only Scott Carson, Claudio Bravo and David Silva who are out of contract this summer. Yeah. And then there's about 2 more players next year, and most people are around 2022, 2023. So they've got a bit of time on their hands, and they've got a fair bit of power, unless they were able to get their lawyers to represent the fact that they've effectively been cheated out of terms of their contract by not being able to make appearance fees in the Champions League, not being able to make goal bonuses, etc.
Yeah,
But let's move on briefly, because I'm sure this is a topic we'll come back to throughout the night. It'll probably be the theme of tonight. McCubs, from a Real Madrid perspective, obviously no Hazard in the squad after that leg breaker. What sort of impact do you think that will have on the tie?
It's hard to know, to be honest, because we've not seen Hazard really at his best for Real Madrid this season, have we?
Do you think we ever will see Hazard at his best for Madrid?
What is he, 29 now?
It's difficult. It really depends what happens with him coming back from this injury, doesn't it? Because, I mean,
just came back from one,
a leg break at this stage. He's going to be, 29 by the time he comes back. Real Madrid may go in for an Mbappe in the summer, or someone of that ilk. Which let alone Hazard, could spell trouble for someone like Luka Jovic. So, it's really difficult to tell. I think he's got something like a goal and 5 assists this season, which isn't too bad considering the minutes he's played. But I think when you look at his in-game stats and stuff, they've dropped horribly. And I think he was improving once he got back properly in kind of December, January. But again, it just couldn't have come at a worse time for him. For a tie like this, you could definitely do with Hazard's know-how for sure. Like, I mean, their front three, from what it looks like, is Benzema, Isco, and Vinicius Junior, which is a little bit unorthodox. Benzema's the only player in there really who's really been playing every game this season. So, talk about City's front line. Real Madrid's front line is definitely not at its strongest. Obviously, Rodrigo's out of the squad as well, and he's been very impressive in the Champions League this season after his antics for the B team. So yeah, but I think. I don't know. I don't necessarily think Hazard's loss is the be all and end all of this. I think Real Madrid have been so good defensively this season that I don't know. I think I don't think Hazard contributes too much in terms of what the overall outcome of the tie is. The only thing I can think of really is that he's quite used to playing against this Man City side from the last couple of years.
The one thing I will say though is he doesn't have a good Champions League record. Eden Hazard.
He's barely been in it,
goal,
mate.
is it? One knockout goal.
I think he's got one knockout goal, hasn't he? I think Serge Gnabry last night scored more goals at Stamford Bridge than Eden Hazard has in knockout games.
I mean, he's not really been in it that much, if being totally honest.
Yeah, Zach, from a Chelsea perspective, are you now looking at that deal and thinking, obviously you got a lot of money for him and your team's done pretty well without him. Are you now looking at that deal in a slightly different light, or are you still really feeling the effects of not having him?
I think an injury coming to Hazard was always on the cards. I mean, he played a lot of football over the 7 years plus that he was at Chelsea for. And I reckon out of those 7 years, he probably played close to 50 games every single time and never really got a bad injury like he's been receiving at Real Madrid. And to get 100 million for him at the kind of age he was, where even though we knew we couldn't really bring anyone in, is still pretty good. I feel for him. I think it must be quite sad for him in a personal aspect, because Real Madrid was his dream move and he finally got it, and it's not necessarily worked out as well as he wanted it to. But it also didn't necessarily work out as well as it did for it didn't work out as well for Courtois in his first year. Now he's seeing a bit of a rise again in his second year. So I mean, give it time. I guess the bigger worry is goalkeepers can play longer, and Hazard is now 30 next year, or this year I should say. So that's the kind of the biggest worry I think for him. Yeah, I mean, from a Chelsea point of view, I say it's okay. We got a really good amount of money for him. I think everyone was quite happy when he left. Everyone was pretty happy with the deal. I just think it's sad to see how it's ended up at the moment. Yeah,
what I would say, I've got obviously a lot of sympathy with him for this leg break. I think it's awful to break your leg at any time of your career, but he probably don't have that much sympathy with his previous injury issues. Like, he did turn up at Real Madrid by his own admission, quite overweight, which is, if it's your dream move and you've been waiting for it for 5 years, I don't know why you aren't going in your best condition of your career. And I bet that's had some impact on his body over the last 6 months. Obviously, he doesn't stop a leg break, but I feel like he's slightly maybe wasted an opportunity there to go in, really hit the ground running and help Madrid in what was going to be a transitional year. And I think everyone's quite surprised with how well they've done considering that transition.
Do you think Madrid now are looking at that move going, we should have just waited 12 months and got Sancho? Like, if I was Madrid, I'd be raging.
I mean, Hazard had a really, really good last season.
But he was 28.
Sure, but I mean, that didn't seem to bother them.
It should have, though. Is what
it should have, yeah, 100%.
And I'm sure now Madrid are looking at it going, why did we move for Hazard when we could have waited 12 months and put that 110, 120 in the end towards Mbappe and stuck another 120 on top and got him, or just for that same price got Sancho.
They wanted an instant success, didn't they? They wanted Hazard to have the season that he had at Chelsea this year for Real Madrid, to be the main man. And imagine if he did. Like, we're already talking about how well Real Madrid have been this season. Imagine if they did have the Hazard of last year. It would have been. We'd probably be looking back at it and saying it's a good choice. 100 mil, not necessarily as much as it could have been a couple of years before. And I think from their point of view, they'll be annoyed. But they're Real Madrid. They've got the money to still go and get whoever they want.
For sure. I think they'll just be slightly... I'm kind of with Joe on this, just because Rodrigo's played a lot better than people would have expected in his first year. Vinicius Jr. is still developing. So in terms of left wingers, they're actually pretty well set. And now they've got Hazard, who hasn't barely played this year. They've got Bale, who's consistently injured as well. And you've got two... approaching 30 plus wingers on your hands who will be difficult to move on. Obviously, they probably won't want to move on Hazard, but they've been trying to move on Bale for about 2-3 years.
Have they? Have they?
Well, I think Bale admitted. I think Zidane said as well that they do want rid of me, but I've got a contract to honour, effectively. Fair. So we shall see. But Zach, let's have our first question of the show.
Yes. Well, it's actually quite a nice question talking about Bale leaving. This one comes from Kushag Satchan. I hope I got your name right there, mate. And they said, #TotalFootball. Which Real Madrid players do you think will be available this summer, given their bloated squad, massive wage bill, and links to expensive players?
Ooh, it's a good
Good
question.
question.
Good. That's
Very
very
good
good.
question. McCubbs, have you?
I mean, I don't have a great knowledge of like whose contracts are up in the next couple of years, but obviously I think Bale's an obvious one, isn't it? Like Bale's definitely an obvious one. I think also like the Brexit thing as well with Bale. Like come December, he will be a non-EU player. So that then means that they can't get another player in from South America or whatever, or they would have to either loan him or sell one of their South American players, or move to try and get one of their South American players Spanish citizenship. So that's an issue with Bale instantly. I don't know. I feel like maybe Modric might move on. I can see him like. I mean, he'll be 34 in the summer, will he, or older, or maybe 35. I feel like his time at the Bernabeu's up. I think he's played a lot less football this year.
Yeah.
He's still looked decent, but he's obviously not quite the player he was. He's actually starting tonight, which I was quite surprised about. Suggests that maybe Real are trying to maybe counter City's slight defensive midfield as well by going a little bit more defensive as well. But yeah, I'd say those two are probably the main ones, and maybe even Luka Jovic if they wanted to go for the jugular and go for an Mbappe or go for a Sancho, for example. I think more likely it would be Mbappe. I just can't see them doing it without selling one of their, maybe just, accepting that Jovic wasn't the right player.
Yeah.
Zidane seems to be very supportive of him and everything, but if they are going to get in another Galactico kind of signing up front, then I fear for his future a little bit.
For sure. I'd also add James Rodriguez into that list as
I
well.
was going to say, contract-wise, it's only Lucas Vazquez, James Rodriguez, Modric.
God, these players can all leave on a free.
And Sergio Ramos, whose contracts run out next season.
Oh, in 2021.
The only one who runs out this year is Areola, but he's
you'd imagine they'd sell James Rodriguez to try and get a fee from him. I'm not quite sure why they didn't try and sell him last year, because Zidane's clearly not a big fan of him. He obviously excelled under Carlo Ancelotti in the previous leadership before Zidane's takeover, but has never really been one of Zidane's favoured players. I think he'd be a great pickup for a lot of clubs. He was still performing really well for Bayern last year when he was on loan there. So yeah, I'd also put James Rodriguez in the mix.
I think there's quite a few. I think Isco will do well to stay next season, given the returning Martin Odegaard. I can't see him being sold. Martin Odegaard this summer, I think it'd be a big mistake if Real Madrid let him go. So at least one of James Rodriguez and Isco will leave, I think, in the summer. They'll get rid of a left back. Too many left backs in there at the moment.
Reguilon, yeah.
Whether it's Reguilon,
maybe Marcelo.
I think it might be Marcelo. And then they bring back Hakimi. I know that Dortmund are going to fight tooth and nail to bring back Hakimi, and Pato thinks he's probably got a future more as a right back in this Real Madrid side.
Yeah.
But I think they'll look to bring him back in the summer and then sell probably one of Marcelo or Sergio Reguilon. And then I do think there is a question mark over the future of Eder Militao. If he's not going to be used week in, week out by Zidane, why have we got a €50 million asset sat on the bench at centre back? I think that he might be looking to move on this summer. But having said that, Real Madrid are probably just happy to eat that cost in a way that no other team in world football could, other than maybe a Man United or a Barcelona, just to have a €50 million asset sat on the bench never used. So yeah, I'll say Marcelo, Sergio Reguilon, and Isco. I think future in doubt of both of those players.
Yeah, I think at right back as well. I saw Spurs are linked with Odriozola this week as well, which I've included in Transfer Talk, which went out just now, which is probably quite a good pickup for someone like Spurs. He's only played something like 27 games in his year and a half at Real Madrid. But did shine at Real Sociedad before that, so you could probably get him. Then leave with Carvajal and Hakimi on the right hand side. Hakimi being so flexible really helps you in fullback areas. Zach, let's have another question. That was a good one.
One comes from Josh Marway. Says,
right, Josh.
Zach and Joe, how was the game last night? Was gassed when I saw you two.
Oh, nice.
I saw that pick.
We do need to get on to last night's fixtures, guys. Kick it off, because disappointing night for you, but what a performance from Bayern.
Yeah, I think in all honesty, Bayern Munich just outplayed us. Taught us a lesson. I don't necessarily think Chelsea were that bad. I mean, there were some poor moments, but I don't think we were necessarily had bad performance. But Bayern just took the game and controlled it at every level. Thiago and Kimmich in the middle were ridiculous. And then Serge Gnabry had a fantastic game. And to be honest, so did Robert Lewandowski. His choice to cut it back rather than shoot.
So good.
It just shows
I didn't even see that pass on when I was watching it
level
back,
that he's playing at. And I think Chelsea, like considering Chelsea's squad, which was filled with a lot of young talent, we've got a lot of injuries, like about 5, maybe even 6 different players who are out, including N'Golo Kante. Although I don't know if it would have made that much of a difference yesterday. But I don't necessarily think it was the worst performance. I just think Bayern were extremely good.
Yeah.
They could possibly win the.
I thought there was just a
Champions League.
class difference between the teams. Totally agree.
Yeah.
It's the first time I've watched a full 90 of Hansi Flick's Bayern Munich as well, and it's really nice to watch it in the flesh because you see some really nice little patterns that they're developing. They've got a pretty unique system, I have to say. I haven't seen it too many times this season where it's almost a
5-5.
It's like a 5-5 split without a real midfield because they know that Thiago can just run it by himself. Joshua Kimmich, fabulous footballer, and he spent most of his time between the centre-backs, really, just distributing. So really impressed by Hansi Flick, first and foremost. Also, really impressed by Alphonso Davies. First time I've seen him in the flesh as well.
So quick.
Incredibly athletic, but also a brilliantly intelligent footballer. Great touch, great ability on the ball. There was a moment where he spread the play out, 60-yard crossfield ball, just for fun, really. So, yeah, he looks like an incredible talent, Alphonso Davies. It also allows Alaba to play at centre-half, which give him another passing avenue. And so many times when they were pressed high by Chelsea, Alaba was able to cut through 4 players with one pass into Thomas Muller's feet. I thought Bayern were brilliant. And I have to say, I said it on this morning's UCL review, we haven't talked about them, I think, enough as winning this Champions League. The squad is so deep. The ability they had last night when Kingsley Coman pulled his hamstring to bring on Coutinho and then Tolisso and then Goretzka. At the back, they were able to play Alaba at centre-half with Luka Hernandez, their record ever signing, out injured. Nicolas Sula out injured. Just a
and they're coming back soon as well.
Just a frightening level of talent. Joshua Kimmich, who can play at right back, playing central midfield last night. It wasn't as if this was peak Bayern Munich last night. I think that I also said on the stream this morning. I think that domestically, competing against Leipzig and Dortmund, I actually think that's going to help them in the Champions League. I think for too long now, Bayern Munich have won it so early in the Bundesliga that they've been able to almost take their foot off the gas and relax, and it's that sort of relaxation period that sometimes allows teams to go a little bit stale, and I don't think they're playing up to their maximum level because they know they can take the foot off the gas domestically. So I actually think having competition domestically is going to help them, and they're going to be playing to an even higher level. So Bayern, probably the best team I've seen live all season.
Love it.
Last night,
the way they cycle, like I'd like to know how many times they just played the ball from left to right, right to left, left to right. I reckon it was close to 100. It was honestly, it was a really good game, and we'll see what happens in the second leg.
Serious competitors.
Lewandowski's injured though. Lewandowski's
injured, but you've got no Jorginho, which is I think a massive loss.
No
Obviously,
Alonso.
I don't think Marcus Alonso is such a big loss because Emerson's quite a capable deputy, but no Jorginho is a big loss. But I mean, just like this story of Alphonso Davies is just incredible.
Yeah.
Born in a Ghanaian refugee camp,
5 years there,
going to Canada, joining Bayern as pretty much a nobody. From the MLS, and then
how good is it to be 19?
At 19, playing out of position and running Champions League games,
and he's already Canada's best ever player.
It's frightening.
It's incredible.
It really is. I thought Frank was pretty honest afterwards as well when he just said, "Look, we got outclassed in every single department." It was like he realised then that my only real talent level of a player that could fit into this Bayern team is Kovacic. I think everybody else in the team is a significant step below the level of Mateo Kovacic.
At the moment,
it's so obvious when you watch them that Kovacic is the best player in that team.
Yeah.
And that's obviously, Tammy was out injured, wasn't he, last night? So he wasn't there. Pulisic was out injured. He wasn't there.
Hudson-Odoi was out injured.
Hudson-Odoi as well. And look, the back line looks okay, but I'm sure Frank's going to want additions in the summer. That back line is getting them by, but I do think that it could be improved at centre back and at left back.
If I'm being critical, I do we had our chances as well. I don't know how many times we played that ball across the box and no one tapped it in. We had at least 3 chances like that, and I also think Cesar's very unlucky to slips and then he's through. And then that's the thing, because once you're 1-0 down and they've got an away goal, you've got to try and get goals.
Double
you're
punch
more-
as well.
Yeah, you've got to
50th
try.
and then 53rd minute.
Exactly,
really
exactly.
difficult.
But yeah, then there was also Barcelona and Napoli
Oh,
What a dry
over
game of
in
football.
Naples,
Not-
1-1.
Yeah,
Yeah,
not
right.
great, was it? I mean, I was only able to watch the highlights this morning, but one of the highlights was Messi being tackled at the edge of the area, and I was like, okay,
Wow,
that's made it. But yeah, what a fantastic finish from Mertens as well, and I now think he's equal with Hamsik as their all-time top scorer, which is quite a good story. But yeah, talking of Chelsea not having been at full strength for the second leg. Vidal got sent off as well.
Oh, did he? Oh,
Yeah,
I
double
actually
yellow.
haven't watched the highlights.
It was an incredible double yellow as well. It was
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
it
Because
was
he's
like
stupid.
both
He
in
puts
one
his head. He
instant.
puts his head against him. I don't know
Brilliant.
what he's
Yeah,
doing.
after a yellow card
God.
challenge as well. Yeah, it's just very very silly. I think it was a frustrating night for them because Napoli, to be fair to them, like
They were away though as well, aren't they?
They were away at Napoli. Gattuso, despite being a very limited manager in my eyes, can coach a team to defend and they just frustrated Barcelona so much. I was actually watching the Barcelona game for the first 20 minutes because I kind of thought might be a little bit more I actually thought it might be a bit more interesting than the Chelsea Bayern game. And was I wrong? Like nothing happened for 20 minutes. It was like watching Van Gaal's United. It really was.
No.
And yeah, it was just so boring. And then by the time Bayern went 2-0 up after watching the Chelsea Bayern game, I went back to Barca.
God, you're really hopping around last night, weren't
It was
you?
at 1-1, and then for the last half an hour, very little happened either. So didn't really see much go on there.
Yeah, I was only able to watch the highlights, but from the highlights package, it just looked like Barcelona without Dembele, without Ansu Fati, without Carlos Perez, were just so narrow, really easy to defend against. And how often do we say that against? Obviously, they've got Messi; it's never easy.
Well, Griezmann
But
pulled him out, didn't he?
they were just
Griezmann.
really funneled, and a real lack of width from their fullbacks on the night. So that was a slight disappointment.
So I've got a couple of questions here. First
Yeah,
one
far
comes
away.
from Anad Vazadu Nada Kumar. I miss Joe's shredded jeans.
Yeah, I do as
where
well,
are
baby.
they?
And they'll come back during the summer months, I reckon. At the moment, I can't afford that area.
Can we get a promise, April time?
Yeah, I reckon we're looking at maybe May. Guys,
Okay.
not gonna
See how
lie.
that ends
We're
up.
Hold on, guys.
looking
Hold
at
on.
Potentially May. I just can't afford that ventilation right now.
What about the long johns? Obaseki does the long
Yeah,
johns.
he does.
does.
He goes long johns under ripped jeans,
Yeah.
which is the unique look, but I think it's one that only he can pull off. Really.
Yeah.
Fair.
Okay, so the players are walking out. So João Pedro Sampaio. I really hope I'm getting these names right. What do you think the final scores are going to be in
I
these
love
two?
that.
ask
What a
this.
great,
Right,
what
we
a
needed
great
this.
question.
Yeah, we
Great
haven't
timing.
spoken about
Joseph, far away.
Okay, I think Madrid are going to have too
Round about
much for
tonight.
Man City tonight, just looking at those teams.
saving.
I'm going to go 2-0 to Real Madrid tonight.
2-0 Real.
Oh,
I
and the other game. What's the other game? Juve
Juve
Lyon.
Lyon.
That one, by
Yes,
the way.
yeah, to keep you informed, basically we are focusing on Real Madrid, Man City, obviously, but we do have Lyon, Juventus, should I say, Lyon at home, which we have on a laptop, so we are going to keep you aware of both, but we are predominantly focusing on the game in Spain, where I put it on my Instagram earlier, I think it's going to be 2-1 Real Madrid, and I said that before the lineups, and I'm even more confident now, but hopefully there's a lot of goals, lots of drama, because Man City, as we know, really need this. McCubs, what do you reckon?
I'm actually going to go slightly different. I for some reason, doesn't seem very logical, but I think Man City are going to pull it out here. I think they're actually going to do it 2-1. We're going to see a Kevin De Bruyne masterclass.
Love it!
That's what
Come
I'm
on,
saying.
KD,
Come on,
baby.
huge appearance for him. Zachary, what do you reckon?
I think we're in for a really good game of Real. I think it's going to be a 3-2 win to the Madrid side. And I think Juve are going to come out like 2-1 victors and then slap them at home.
Yeah, I think it'll be. Yeah, in that game,
I'll be very surprised if Lyon come out with anything less than
a loss.
a loss.
Yeah.
A loss.
You never know. You never know. But
You
without
do never know,
Memphis,
but
without
yeah,
Memphis.
All
without
right,
the
we're
fines,
looking
it's
at the
possible.
Real Madrid lineup. McCubs, we're talking about Alphonso Davies.
Yeah.
Fede Valverde's got a lot of press, and rightly so, since his sort of introduction to the side.
Yeah.
What have you made of him, and what do you think he brings to this Real Madrid side?
Yeah, he's just he just makes that midfield a lot more mobile, doesn't he? I think the Casemiro, Modric, Kroos, kind of trident has been pretty much set in stone for about 5 years, hasn't it? And I just think it was getting a little bit stale. Obviously, Modric is a lot older now. Kroos as well, I think less mobile footballer than he once was, although I think he has been excellent this season. But I think just putting Valverde in there has just made it function a lot better. I think it's meant that Casemiro can focus on what he's doing a lot more, and I think he's potentially having the season of his life. He really is Real Madrid's key man this
Yeah.
term. I think he's putting up bigger defensive numbers than almost any other midfielder in Europe. With kind of possession adjusted stats, that is. But I think he just kind of strings things together a lot more. Very technically able, very intelligent, like decent defensively, good passing. Like I don't know. He's not a particularly complex footballer, but just makes things work. And I think that's he's the kind of player that Zidane kind of needs a lot of the time, doesn't he? Like I think when he first came in, Casemiro was that guy who he could just rely on essentially. I think Valverde has kind of proved to be that guy this season.
Looks like he's
really fixed a problem for them.
For
Come
sure.
on, Madrid.
Looks like he's got an absolutely massive future ahead of him. Joe, in the Man City midfield, another young sort of defensive midfielder, or midfielder at least, Rodri, come in for some criticism at times. What have you made of him this year?
I think the criticism's been a little bit harsh. I think the trouble with sitting in that position is you've got to live up to the heights of Fernandinho, haven't you? And the heights of Fernandinho are impossible to live up to for anyone. He's been probably the best defensive midfielder, if not the Premier League, potentially the world as well, for the last 2 or 3 seasons. Fernandinho,
We're off.
just an incredibly gifted footballer, and the fact that he's had to drop into centre half for a lot of the season has meant there's extra pressure on Rodri because he doesn't have the partner alongside him in Fernandinho, and Rodri himself has had to drop into centre half for certain games, such as the defensive crisis been this season. So he's done fine. He's still very young, and it's his first season in England as well. Everybody needs a time for adaptation, and his has been playing at centre half for a lot of a game.
Yeah.
So I think he's been fine.
It certainly hasn't been easy. And also, he came from Simeone's system, which was often playing in a midfield too as well, which I think
Quick
sometimes
start.
goes unnoticed. But yeah,
we go.
City on the attack already. Mahrez.
Big
throwing
night
a
for
nice
Benny
ball.
Mendy, innit? Big night for
Yeah.
Benny Mendy.
Oh, here we go.
Oh, here we go.
Oh my god.
Go on, Silvat.
Oh, good block.
block.
That
Yeah,
is.
it just
Was
feels
it
like a
Carvajal?
massive night for Benny Mendy,
Massive.
whose Man City career, I think, is in danger of tailing off.
And on a
Really?
yellow tonight as well,
Yeah.
so I'll be intrigued to see whether he keeps his discipline as well.
I think if I was Man City, I'd be looking for a left back in the summer. Put it that
We'd be
way.
looking
I
at
think I would as well, because you
Davies.
just can't bank on Mendy playing even 35 games.
Let alone the 50 in
What's happened? Is Zinchenko injured again?
I believe
Because he's not in the squad
he's
tonight.
not
He
in
must
the
be
squad.
injured then. He must be injured, surely.
Because I don't see they don't have a backup left back on
I
the
suppose
bench.
Cancelo can play left
He
back,
can,
but it's not
but
ideal.
Not ideal, especially if you want to go more defensive.
Fede Valverde's playing very hard at the pitch, isn't he? He's almost playing like a second striker in there, alongside Karim Benzema.
Well, it's quite an interesting formation because obviously Isco playing is much better in central areas, and then Vinicius likes to sort of hug the
lovely.
left. So we shall see how it develops as time goes on. But yeah, both sides stroking it about nicely to begin with. Zach, should we get a little question in?
Yes, this one comes from Rancid Ed, and they have said, how long do you think Pep Guardiola will stay at Manchester City for?
Ooh. Well, I think as Joe said, he's sort of given his word that it definitely will be to the end of his contract, which expires in 2021. And I think that will probably be it, to be honest. But I'm kind of with Joe. I don't think he'll want to leave this year, having said he won't leave. And also, who wants to leave having been completely dominated really this year, like no Guardiola team has ever done
Where do you
before.
think he's off to then after?
Well, we talked about this briefly in the office earlier. I mean, everyone talks about Juventus all the time. I think he'll do another club side, and then apparently he's always wanted to manage Brazil,
He has,
which would be absolutely fascinating. But I think he's a bit too young to go into international management just yet. So,
He does want to retire early, though.
oh, is that what he said?
Yeah, he wants. I think he wants to get out of the game pretty young.
I'd
In-
love
in
to
his
see
book,
him do
anyway,
a-
he talks about managing Brazil and then retiring.
I'd love to see him do a Bielsa. Go to a championship side.
It's
Try and
never
have some
gonna
fun.
happen,
Well, Sunderland
Have some
should be
fun.
in there in a couple of years.
But before
so.
Bielsa found his way to a championship side, he bundled around a load of poor leagues and
messed around contracts
messed around
as well.
contracts and clubs. Was it Lille?
Marseille, Lazio.
And he ended up in Argentina, didn't he? And I just think that
Guardiola loves
long
working
way.
with world class
Yeah.
players as well, doesn't he?
Yeah,
That's pretty
yeah,
much a
that
kind of
is a-
prerequisite for
that
him
is a
taking
very
any
good
job. Is the fact is
They've got to have their stars.
yeah is
Juve
the,
is the obvious one, though, isn't it? Juve with
Yeah.
Sarri.
Well,
If
then
Sarri doesn't win Serie A this season and Pep is available, they're going to be absolutely all over him. Like,
Well, I think we were going to
Yeah.
get on to it at some stage, but I've been pretty underwhelmed by Sarri's Juventus this year. I know they're top of the league, but they've conceded more goals than they have at any stage of this year for about 5-6 years. They've scored less goals. Conceded more goals, scored less. fewer points by a distance than they did at this stage last year, and I think he's basically getting by on Ronaldo going on this ridiculous scoring run. I don't think they've been particularly impressive at all. As I say that, Ronaldo just nearly
cuts in onto his left foot and kind of dinks it. It looks slightly like it's going in the goal, but it just go past the post. Juan Cuadrado just missing it. Though I don't know if it's gone out for a corner.
That man bun is still. That's a good effort.
Oh no, he's gone out for a goal kick, but it's a really good
that was a cross though. I think maybe it's a shot.
I don't know the way he looks.
It's so difficult to know.
I mean, McCubbs, what do you think about sort of the Sarri Juventus situation? Do you think Pep would be a possibility there? Maybe not this year, but next year, or
Pep would be. It would be an interesting project for Pep there. My one worry is that I think Juve still. There's still a lot of I don't know. There's a lot of work that needs to be done with that squad. It still feels like quite a messy squad, and I don't know whether it's necessarily one that Pep would want to step into. I think he did a decent rebuilding job at Man City, but I think with Juve, there's just a lot of dead wood in there. I think you need to move on quite a lot of players, and maybe he'd be up for doing that. And I guess the attraction with Pep as well is that if he goes to Serie A, the chances of winning it are quite high, aren't they? He likes to go to a club which has good chances of winning a trophy even before he gets there. So I would it's one of the more attractive options for him. But personally, I think I'd just go back to Barcelona.
Got Juventus on the break. I think it would really
back to Barca.
Yeah,
don't think it'll happen with the current presidency, though, will it?
But he's probably going to be out in 2020. Well, I mean, there's a presidential election, and considering recent events, I wouldn't bet against Bartomeu being usurped at the elections next summer.
Yeah. Ederson kicks the ball so far.
Yeah,
it's ridiculous his technique as well. It doesn't even look like he's put any effort into it. I mean, Leon have a player down, which is not what they need at the moment during the way their season's going.
Zach is our sort of resident FD keeper now that Kieran's gone. R.I.P.
I think Mike Atkins.
Atkins is waving, but Atkins
the defence at the moment.
Atkins never likes to play in goal, really. Zach, what have you made of Courtois' sort of because he did come in for some criticism at the start of this year. He had a particularly poor game, I seem to remember, again. I think it was Club Bruges, and he conceded
he got
2 goals, and then there was talk about him having an anxiety attack or whatever. What have you made of his sort of rejuvenation in this Real Madrid
It's been nice to see. I think Courtois is a good keeper. I don't necessarily think he is world class because he can make mistakes. I think something that he is the best in the world at is catching. One of the best things that I found when he was at Chelsea was corners and crosses were ineffective because he would just come out and claim them. His 6'6" frame is ridiculous. The second he puts his hands up, he must be edging on nearly like 6'10". So that is something he's been really good at this year. I think.
Oh, here we go.
Jesus.
Oh no, not Rafa Varane is very
Look how
very
calm
quick,
that is
isn't
from
he?
Varane. He doesn't even kick it out. Just recycle the play. Lovely.
Here you go. Talking about Courtois on the ball. And I think that he had it rough. He had it rough, and I think moving to a team which is kind of different in the way they. I thought it was bad.
And he always was their second choice.
Yeah, with Keylor Navas last season, he would never have the confidence of being I am the number one.
They
goalkeeper.
never even wanted him, did they? They wanted De Gea.
They
wanted De Gea. He was not their favoured man, so it's like second fiddle into De Gea, then second fiddle to Navas. Then the fans fell out of love with him. Like he's not the most.
That's something you don't want to do
Madrid,
at Real Madrid. But I do think Zidane letting go of Keylor Navas has put a lot more confidence in Thibaut. It's allowed him to see that I am the number one now, and obviously they're not getting David De Gea. That he's the one for the future as well, unless Zidane's son suddenly turns incredible in goal. So I think he's okay. Enzo. Oh, I don't know.
There's quite a few sons.
There's like 4 of them. But yeah, I think he's a solid keeper. I think he will be there for the next couple of years. Don't necessarily think he's going to be groundbreaking. But
he's solid, isn't he?
He's solid.
He's no Jan Oblak or an Edison or an Alisson.
No, he does have the best save percentage I saw the other day in La Liga this year, which is quite impressive.
Sure, but it depends what kind of. I'd like to know what kind of quality chances. Yeah, because if they're just long shots, then
but at least
Real Madrid's defence has been really good.
Yeah, I mean, but at least in November when Madrid's defence wasn't looking as good as it is now. They were outperforming their expected goals against by quite a bit. which does suggest that they were giving up quite good chances, and that Courtois was pulling off good saves, and that was when he was still getting a lot of abuse from Real Madrid fans. I think finally in the last kind of month or so, they've kind of laid off him a bit because they've realised, actually, he's pretty decent.
Bad. I think he might have I think allegedly he had a stinker on the weekend
against Levante. Yeah, he pulled his arms away.
It wasn't
near
amazing.
post
But
shot.
I don't know. Like, I think
It was a good finish,
to play in goal, they say have to be crazy, don't you? And
Indeed.
and Thibaut's definitely that.
And Atkins and Jalab as well.
Yeah.
Indeed.
What have you guys made of the start of the game? Because it's been Real Madrid pressed pretty quite high. City haven't really, managed to string that much ball together. So
No,
It's an
only that
interesting
first
one.
minute,
What I've kind of noticed is that Gabi Jesus is
Playing
almost
left,
playing as a winger
yeah.
on the left and Riyad on the right, and then it's like Bernardo Silva and KDB as two false nines with
you
Rodri and
brought this out
Gundogan.
against you guys in the Carabao Cup, didn't
Sat
you?
below
Silva
them.
playing as like more of a striking role.
Yeah, and
De
that
Bruyne as well. Look
that
how far ahead
obviously-
he is.
That obviously worked on the day, but that was against that Manchester United
sure.
team. And even in the second half, they looked very vulnerable when Rashford actually got at them with some pace. But having said that, we've seen Pep use the false nine to great effect in the past in Spain, haven't we? So maybe he's just looked at the Zidane team and thought, I can just drop two false nines, pull Sergio Ramos and Varane out of their positions there, and then allow Gabi Jesus to run in behind them.
I do feel like he's gone with an experimental lineup and he's gone with quite an experimental formation so far. Like I feel like I sometimes just want Pep just to be like, we're going to play our way and not bend this, create some sort of
Do you know
weird
what I think,
formation.
though? I think that part of Pep's failing at Manchester City has been an inability to find a plan B.
Yeah,
In the Champions
when you
League.
say
So in
in
the
the
Champions
Champ-
League,
yeah,
not
yeah.
in the Premier League. Obviously, he's fantastic. In the Premier League, I remember the Monaco game in particular, thinking, "Are you going to shift it up? When are you going to shift it up?" Liverpool away, they at no stage did they adapt to play a different. It was the same football, and Liverpool just running over the top of them.
But he has a very hardcore belief in his system, doesn't
But
he?
domestically, he changes it up a lot. Domestically, he changed it up a lot. It feels like in the Champions League, he overthinks what he's trying
but it's
to
almost
do.
like he goes with the plan B first.
Yeah, it's
Sane at left wing back or whatever.
Yeah,
and then,
I
and
could
then
move
it's
it's overthinking what he's doing in the Champions. It's really bizarre in the Champions League. It feels like he's a different manager to when he's in the Premier. He's so confident in the Premier League.
That's what I kind of mean. He sort of changes his tactics
nervous, isn't he?
to sort of counteract the other team's strengths, rather than being like, we're Man City.
We're
We
the strong team,
vaguely play 4-3-3 and we can dominate the ball at the Bernabeu. But obviously it's early days. It's only 11
What a
minutes
line
in.
there, by the way. Zinedine Zidane and Pep Guardiola.
From behind, it's hard to tell
isn't
who's who.
yeah, actually is.
What
Actually is.
two quality
I'm assuming that's
players.
Pep.
I think Zidane's head's slightly shinier if I had to put one on the other.
Pep's got a bit more stubble round the head, I think.
He's also wearing
Some
Zidane's
white
got the suits
bottom.
and Pep's got
Well, we've got to talk about sort of Pep's record against against Real Madrid in the Champions League, because it's been slightly mixed. So they beat when he was at Barcelona, they beat Real Madrid 2-1 in the semis. Then when he was at Bayern, they got absolutely torn apart. I think it was in 13-14, lost 5-0 across two legs in the semis. And then they obviously lost to Real Madrid in the semi-finals a good couple of years ago now. And they haven't met again since.
That wasn't under Pep.
Oh, was that
That was
Pellegrini
under
even?
Pellegrini, yeah.
Okay, maybe that was Man City's
Yeah, it was Man
record
City, yeah.
against Spanish opposition. I'm
There
confusing
you
the
go.
two.
Ooh, well defended there, by the way.
But yeah, Man City have never beaten Real Madrid in a tie. They've only met 4 times.
They've played, and they've also played some very, very good Real Madrid
Oh, for
sides,
sure.
which
Ronaldo,
probably went on
they're
to
all
win
Ronaldo Real
the
Madrid sides.
Champions League. I mean, if there's going to be one time they do it, it'll be tonight more so than the others.
Yeah, or at least in the return leg as well.
Yeah, exactly. But I've got a question for you
Yeah.
boys, and if you guys would like to see your questions asked on the show right now, right live, all you have to do is get them in the comment section or Twitter. Mainly the comment section though, because that's where I'm looking most of the time. This one comes from GBR Films, and they've said #TotalFootball. What do you think about Vinicius Junior's development? Should he go out on loan or should he stay in Madrid? Love from Brazil. Love you too, mate.
Oh, well, he's probably a
big Vinicius Junior fan.
aficionado, and I can see why. I think he's a really exciting player. I think with the ball at his feet, there's in terms of one-on-one dribbling ability, he's right up there with the best in Europe. But he hasn't quite developed that killer instinct you want from a 21-year-old just yet.
He's 21 now.
I think he's 21, yeah, and he certainly seems like he's a bit behind some of his peers in terms of Mbappe, Sancho, Haaland, in terms of being very well rounded.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't be totally against the idea of him going out on loan, but I'd be surprised because, with, as we talked about earlier, with Hazard with his injury issues, he's been a useful asset for them, and it's clear that there is an incredible player in there. He just hasn't been able to match the end product to live up to his potential just yet. But I'm enjoying him.
Yeah, I'd stay at Madrid. Like clearly, like out of pretty much all the kind of young prospects at Madrid, young attacking prospects at least, Vinicius seems to be kind of top of the list for Zidane. So I think you just have to stick it out. Spend those games that you'll put on the bench, and just keep working hard, because clearly Zidane has a lot of faith in him, and he's obviously probably compared to their other young prospects as well, has probably had the most game time and probably put in the most kind of good performances as well. So I'd stick it out. There's a lot of players at Real Madrid who would benefit from loan moves, but I think Vinicius is.
Vinicius was 19, not 21.
Oh,
19.
sorry, I've got that wrong. Fair, I thought he was a bit older. But yeah, what a show of faith this is from Zidane, starting him in their biggest game of the season so far as well. So stick it out. It's weird watching Man City out of possession actually line up in 4-4-2.
It's really weird this how like no one's really had a clear-cut chance or anything.
No,
15 minutes in, it's just been.
I'm not the biggest fan of how deep Gabby Jesus is.
No,
he's currently a wing back.
He's marking Carvajal.
The ball's being knocked in behind him.
He's done a good job there.
Do we want to see Gabriel Jesus as a left wing back?
I'm not quite sure about this. I think surely it makes more sense to put Bernardo Silva wide left and put Jesus with De Bruyne just off him.
Oh, there you go. There's Sergio
Real
Ramos.
Madrid are just completely dominating them, though.
Especially if you're looking for if you're going to occasionally, Man City rarely do, but if they're occasionally going to ping the ball long, they've got Bernardo Silva to aim at and KDB. Surely you'd want Gabriel Jesus, who's
That's a good ball.
Oh, great header.
Really good ball in there by.
Oh my
Smash.
Oh my god! Yeah, get back there, Rafa Varane. Ignore that one.
Rafa Varane just take it off KDB there and
Isco though tipped in a nice little ball. It was unfortunately not won by Benzema, but I mean that's probably the best chance of the game.
Out from Mendy though,
and it's not even a great chance.
It's only early doors though, but Real Madrid look pretty comfortable. I have to say, Real Madrid look very, very comfortable against this Man City team at the moment. And the problem Man City are going to have is if they're going to be dominated on the ball, which is unlike a Pep team. You never see Pep team gets dominated on the ball, really, do you? What's a kick? But
where was the midfield?
if you're going to be dominated, then I feel like it's the same. We said about Chelsea last night when me and Zach were sat there. Straight away, I said you're going to get dominated on the ball here. You got no pace going forward. It was Giroud, Mount, and Barkley, and there was nobody to counter last night. And it looks a little bit similar tonight. If he's going to play KDB and Bernardo through the middle, where's the pace of those two that you want? Surely you want your front men, Riyad Mahrez and Gabriel Jesus counter-attacking, because it's just so easy when you've got athletic players like Rafa Varane and Sergio Ramos to knock them off the ball. Mason Mount at one stage last night went through on goal, 10-15 yards clear of the nearest player, and Alphonso Davies jogged back.
I don't know. Alphonso Davies is probably one of the faster players I've ever seen live. And Mount isn't the quickest, but
it makes the point. If it was Willian or if it was somebody like that in behind, he would have probably got a shot off.
I feel like these tactics with this sort of 4-4-2 or vague 4-4-2 structure work quite well if you're dominating the ball higher up the pitch and you've got Bernardo and KDB dropping into the half spaces and playing in Mahrez and Jesus Navas. Not Jesus Navas, Gabriel Jesus either side. That was a throwback to 2015. But if you're not dominating the ball and you're playing from so deep and you're aiming at Bernardo Silva and KDB, I don't know. I think this is a real risk. And so far, I wouldn't say it's coming off massively.
There's such a lack of control in midfield as well. This is the thing. You're just getting pretty much overpowered in every position.
But guys, if you're joining us for the first time on one of the Total Football live streams, remember to subscribe to Euro Football Daily and hit that notification bell as well. We do these live streams every single round of the Champions League, and they are a lot of fun, so get involved. Zach, let's get our next question.
Thomas Ariel has said, #Total Football.
Yes.
One Real Madrid player you would love in your squad, granted he is available.
Oh,
Who
okay.
would it be? Remember as well, if you want to get your questions asked, just stick them in the comments. And I will ask them, my friends.
Nice. Right, Man
Obviously
United
for Sunderland, I was going to say.
Yeah, I'll take any of them. All of them. I take Zidane.
Okay, Man United.
Just to play him.
Yeah.
I'd have to go for Casemiro, to be honest.
Okay.
That's a good
An upgrade on McTominay.
So you're playing a
Fred?
Casemiro, Fred, Bruyne midfield?
Yeah, probably, to be honest.
One man for me, Rafa Varane. Lindelof still got big holes in his game, I think. Victor Lindelof. I'm still unconvinced as to whether he's the long-term central defender alongside Harry Maguire for Man United. So bad in the air. so bad in the air. So yeah, I just would take Rafa Varane in an absolute heartbeat. He would just improve us tenfold. Ability to pass out from the back, carry the ball, so much physically stronger than Victor Lindelof as well. I'm just tired of watching Lindelof get dominated by 5'11" strikers in the Premier League. So yeah, I'll go Rafa Varane, but I can see the argument for Casemiro to unlock the midfielders a little bit. Fred's been great defensively.
Fred has been good. Fred has been good, but just I think putting Casemiro in there would just be it would just kind of make it would just take that midfield up.
Oh no, I'm going to ask you about your midfield next, but Zach, let's have one. Who are you having at Chelsea?
Who would I would probably take Ferland Mendy.
Yeah, I thought you
he
might say
would
that.
be fantastic in that left back position.
Here's his
nice
namesake,
Benjamin.
Go on, Benjamin.
Brilliant play by Benny
Look at Mendy, run!
There we go. This is what we want to see.
Now, how did he manage that?
See, if you get through the Real Madrid press, there is a bit of space there.
Jeez Louise.
But you're going Ferland Mendy.
Yes, Ferland Mendy. I'd take Bale. If he wasn't getting injured, I'd take Bale.
But Luka Jovic.
A bit of a suit.
But you need a backup striker.
Do you not think Bale would just stunt the development of Pulisic and Hudson-Odoi? Do you really want to swap out Willian and Pedro and get in Bale? I don't know.
Sure.
Chelsea fans surely don't care about the development.
I'm not that bothered by it. Luka Jovic is an okay shout. The number one is Ferland Mendy for me. I mean, or Varane. Varane's pretty good, isn't he?
Varane would rapidly improve that back line.
I think in terms of Sunderland, we've actually been playing a really complicated formation that I don't think many of them would be able to keep up with, to be honest.
It's fair
Phil
enough.
Parkinson, Sunderland.
Tony Cruz would not be able to deal with the pass.
They couldn't do it at Fleetwood on a Tuesday night for sure.
Go on, Gabby!
Gabby!
What a save!
Good save from Courtois.
I mean, we spoke about him earlier in the game,
and
he's coming up.
Unbelievable by KDB. Turns on a sixpence, puts the ball in behind the lines for Gabby Jesus, and Leon has just hit the bar as well, by the way. But it does beg the question yet again. Sergio Aguero scores.
Do you think he takes it there?
Sergio Aguero scores.
I don't know if he does.
I think it is pretty good defending from Varane, to be fair, as well. He holds him up
goes
pretty well.
Over. It's over.
But best chance of the game so far.
There you go. Falls to Gabby Jesus.
Finishes
It's a finish that you would probably expect.
Very well there.
Normally have a bit more whippage on it.
Oh, is Roger going to get a yellow? No.
It is kind of. I'm just looking at the bar here. Who hits that? One of the centre backs.
Someone at the near post.
Who's their captain? I don't know.
Dubois? Or is
I'm
it
not too
Marcelo?
sure.
How is Rodrigo
21.
not got a booking for that?
I mean, it might be just a bit of a strict ref. But yeah, look, I
It's
reckon
almost
he
a
needs
little
to put
bit
a bit
like
more
Morata.
whip. Yeah, it's exactly like
Not a good
Morata's.
finish.
Yeah,
Not a good finish.
It's straight out the keeper.
What Jesus actually probably should have done, looking at Courtois' position there, or at least his movement, is maybe just try to put it through his legs. He's been caught there before.
But do you not think
His
Sergio
height.
Aguero scores? Sergio Aguero for me just puts that in. They just score
With his left.
Sergio Aguero isn't as quick
much
as he
rather
used to
have
be, though.
Sergio
Would
Aguero in that
Sergio
position than Gabriel
Aguero got
Jesus.
there is the other position.
I would
I
much
think it was
rather
quite an
have.
interesting decision not to start Aguero, but he did obviously missed that penalty on the weekend against Leicester City.
Everyone's missed penalty for City. If you do that, there'd be no players left.
I know, but I feel like Pep's now using his resources. Like the game time that he gives to both of them is pretty much equal in the last couple of months. I think he does just have a lot of faith. Lovely overlap.
Well, it's a bit more like what he did in the Centurion season as well, wasn't it? Like he played them up top together to begin with, and then kind of just alternated them. Didn't actually give Aguero that much game time in that season actually. So I don't know, but I wouldn't be surprised to see him bring him on at half time. Well, not half time, but
55.
maybe 60 minutes if they're still chasing a goal. I would not be surprised to see that. And I think it's almost an advantage in some ways. Like I know you ideally want to have your best players starting, but if you can bring one of them off the bench at a crucial moment in the game, and you're still in the game, then I think that's
I mean, you make a very good point because Pep can turn to Aguero, Silva, Sterling, whereas Zidane looks at his bench and his attacking resources are Vasquez, Bale, who's barely played, and Jovic, who's been pretty out of form.
I think there is an argument to be made there.
It's good.
There is an argument to be made that I'd rather have Gabby Jesus' pace running at tired legs than Sergio Aguero's.
Potentially.
Like I just.
He's been a very effective off the bench player.
Although Jesus has started the game brilliantly.
yeah.
He started the game really well.
In a sort of unfamiliar starting role anyway.
I'd say it's bad about him, it's just such a good chance early doors.
Yeah.
It feels like that's the type of chance that has to hit the net against Madrid.
This question comes from Magnus. and they've said,
Magnus?
if you were to manage a top team, who out of the EFD/FD squad would you pick to be your assistant manager? He says, I'd go Doogie.
Oh,
Yeah.
thank you, Magnus.
I'd be tempted by Doogie. It has to be said.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it depends what you want from an assistant. Because if you want like a really in-your-face, quite aggressive assistant, I don't think you would go me. Because I'm quite a soft touch.
You'll be,
I think.
you'll be more of a tactical approach.
But you wouldn't be, but I think I think I'd maybe go for Uzak actually. 'Cause,
Yeah?
Yeah.
You look a bit like Simeone's assistant.
Cheers.
Yeah, German Burgos. Do you know who I mean?
I hope.
That big bear on the
Yeah.
side.
That's not a compliment at all.
Great. Cheers,
He's
Doogie.
known as
but
the
yeah.
brains of his
Yeah.
operation.
Cheers, Doogie.
Yeah, I think I'd go for Uzak.
I appreciate
Vinicius.
that.
Oh.
I appreciate that.
Just because I don't know, we've worked together a couple of times on
Where's
a
he
couple of
going?
things.
Oh,
There
what
we
are you
go.
doing?
Oh my god! What was going on there?
He's a lucky
What was
boy.
happening there?
I don't even know if that's a free kick, you know.
Lucky boy,
I don't think that was a
Riyad
free kick
Mahrez.
I don't think that was a free kick.
I think that was a free kick.
You lucky
Right, we need
boy,
another
Riyad
look. Check
Mahrez.
out
I was
the
so
check out the
confused
rest
by this.
gel
Mahrez, just clear it.
hairstyle, by the way.
I don't know, man.
it's never
I
a
don't
foul.
know.
It's not. It's not.
He's got
It's not,
away
man.
with one big time,
He's
really.
gone down
Absolutely.
so softly
He's gone
there.
down very. So Riyad Mahrez is in his own
exactly.
box.
Explain what happened. Yeah.
Like literally standing in front of Edison on the ball. Vinicius Junior kind of goes behind him and doesn't really do anything apart from a little bit of a
I'm not
just
sure.
contact between them, which you're allowed in football. It's a contact sport. And Mahrez goes down very easily and
Very.
wins
Put
a
it this
free
way, I
kick.
don't think it would be a foul if it was in the opposition box. And I
Yeah.
don't think it would be a foul in the middle of the park.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
that is just
Exactly.
soft.
The referees let him off.
Yeah, it's almost like he
Big
yeah,
time
acting
there.
like he's
So
a
we're
goalkeeper.
seeing on the Lyon Juve game, Lyon have had 4 shots in the first 25 minutes. Juve haven't had 1, although they must not be counting that Ronaldo
Surely
chance
not,
as
yeah.
a cross. So they have had 1, but Lyon, you know,
Leon looked really good.
seem like they've started pretty well there. Although I have to say, my eyes are being drawn to this big clash in the Bernabeu.
Of course.
Need a goal though. Let's have a
Yeah,
goal.
that's
Open
it.
this
Yeah, that would
game
be
up a
nice.
little
City
bit.
just looks so like it's really
Nonchalant.
yeah, it's just very it's just I don't know. I don't get this City team at all tonight. Like really, they've looked really good in a couple of moments, but especially on the ball at the back. Just I don't know. Like they've been losing the ball in such like dangerous areas.
I think
Struggling to get out of their
I
own
think
half.
both teams have looked a bit poor. Like even Real
Really?
Madrid, not been that impressed by Real Madrid. I haven't seen like Real Madrid create an opening yet. Like just through a nice little passage of play. At least Man City have had one of those. Like the ball seems to be. There's not much pace in this Madrid team, is what I keep thinking.
Yeah. Well, that's what happens when you have
This is a bit
Benzema just running the attack almost single handedly. I feel like that's kind of that can happen, can't it? And especially
Here
with
you
this
go.
front three
Come on,
not
Gabby.
not having played together as a three all that
Oh,
much.
get off the ball.
Go on,
Hey,
Gabby.
go on, Gabby. What a start. Here we go. Get it in.
Oi, oi.
And in.
Why did he give it? Why didn't he give it?
Again, he's got Carvalho's
That's
number
good.
at the
That-
start.
that's
of the
very
game.
good from KDB there.
Sebastian
Very good from
Zamot
KDB.
might be quite right here. He said, I think Jesus is there to press a little bit more on Carvajal.
Well, it's
considering he's
it
better
does
at doing that than Aguero.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
from the start,
Seemed
we've
right-
seen
seemed
a lot
right,
of Real Madrid, you know, trying to play through to Carvajal. And when Carvajal's lost it, and he has on a couple of occasions, there's a lot of space behind him. We've already seen Mendy, we've seen Gabriel Jesus make great strides down the left. So maybe it's a tactical masterclass from Pep. What do we
There
know?
you go. Well, Sebastian Zanot has seen it as well. Luka Modric seems to be slightly injured. He got kind of kicked in the ribs as Laporte was doing a clearance. Not Laporte's fault, really. He's just pressing him. But I'm sure he'll carry on. We've got a question here from Santiago Marshall.
Bonjour.
And they have said, hashtag total football.
Yes. Love
Has
it.
Neymar failed to reach his potential?
Oh, big question.
Yes.
Joe, do you want to kick off
Yeah, he definitely failed to reach his potential.
for this? Yeah.
He's still a
sad,
phenomenal
isn't it?
player, but I was expecting higher heights of Neymar. And I think as soon as he moved to PSG, he was never going to reach that potential. The potential at Barcelona was there to compete with Messi and Ronaldo for Ballon d'Ors. At PSG, he's fallen way short. Not
Pass.
not one year at PSG have I thought genuinely.
Here we go.
Here we go.
Here we go. Oh, he's absolutely skied it.
why is he
trying to
hit that so hard?
Absolutely
Beautiful
skied it.
football yet again by Man City. The ball's played in. KDB dummies it. It's laid off
don't know if
by
Mahrez wins
Riyad
the
Mahrez.
pass.
Oh, it's,
That
don't
is
think
such
he
a
does.
good lead from De Bruyne.
and KDB spoons it. 30
Modric is
yards
coming
over.
back hard at him, but that he has hammered that over the bar.
Yeah, 2 good chances for Man City, 2 misses. But yeah, just to go back to Neymar, he had the potential to compete with those two, and not once at PSG have I thought you're a genuine contender to win the
Do
Ballon
you think
d'Or.
that was because he's at PSG rather than in a better league?
I think that at PSG he had to be domestically dominant, which he has been, but he also had to do more in the Champions League.
But-
the guy made his first Champions League knockout appearance since 2018 this year.
Yeah.
You can't reach the heights he was expected to reach
Wow,
playing that much
Benzema.
football.
Well, that's the thing. It's the
injuries,
injuries.
isn't it?
I think is the main thing. It's difficult because I think
Great tackle from Valverde.
I think he was getting close to his potential at
miss
Barca. Like
Yeah, then he
Sergio,
left.
he was like 2016, between 2015 and 2017. He was almost as important to that side as Messi was, and so it's I don't know. It's a little bit. I don't know. I'm happy that we saw him at that point. Like, I'll always remember.
Jeez.
Wow.
I'll
Did
always
it look
remember
like
that game.
Terry
Delix is
Butcher?
going up. Yeah, exactly. Terry Butcher, good
Yeah,
shout.
yeah.
Lot
Wow.
of blood.
Or
That
Paul
is
Edwards
big.
as well.
That's
Yeah.
a lot more than Terry Butcher
Ooh.
ever had.
That's
That is a hell of a lot of blood.
There's also a tackle in the Man City game. Benjamin Mendy's just received the second yellow card.
No,
First yellow.
No, second
Of
yellow
the
card of
competition.
City's game.
Oh, he's
of course,
suspended
Rodri
for the next
also
leg. Oh, he's
has
suspended
one.
for the next leg.
And Mendy misses the next leg, unfortunately.
Does he actually?
Yeah.
Is that what they said?
He was on a
okay.
yellow
Yeah,
already.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think the lick seems to have gone down after going up for a header and colliding heads by the looks. Or has he been stamped on? I think
he's
he's
been
been
stamped
stamped
on by-
on. No,
by
if I
a
look.
player.
No, wait, watch this.
By his own player.
I think it's by Alexandro.
Yeah.
Oh.
yeah. His ear's been gashed.
Here we go.
Oh,
The
that's-
Vinicius!
Oh my
No,
God!
Vinicius!
we were looking
Slipped
at the-
over on the 6-yard line.
Vicious.
We're
Oh.
looking at the blood in Leon and not focusing.
What's
There's
a
an
save from
enormous-
Edison, by the way?
What
What
a
a
save.
save from
Fernand
Edison.
Mendy puts in a
my
lovely
gosh.
cross from the left flank.
wanna see a replay on
Benzema
that.
jumps up, wins a great header.
How
And I
did
mean,
Vinicius
Edison pulls out a fantastic save, but it lands straight at Vinicius' feet and kind of slips and doesn't even have a shot.
I think
I
he
need to see
slips.
that.
I think
Wow.
he's trying to get his footing because he kind of lands so perfectly at his feet, and he just slips.
Now
he just kind
that-
of trips himself up.
That is a great save from Edison.
What a
Been
save,
some- there's
man.
been
Even
some
when you beat
serious
City,
chances
you have to
already.
face Edison.
Brilliant save.
Jeez.
Unbelievable, yeah. It
When
just
it
looked
left his
like,
head, I thought it was
it just looked like the sort of chance
Yeah.
going back
Proper.
across where the ball came from. It
Oh.
looked perfect for Benzema, but what a save. I want to
What
see
a
it
ball
again.
by Fernand
Yeah, where's the
Mendy as
replay?
well.
Give us the replay.
Leon are doing bits down here. Leon are in.
Oh my god! Oh, it's a goal! 1-0 up!
Leon!
It's,
Oh, it's Toussaint.
Toussaint.
1-0. Toussaint, the man who's joining Hertha Berlin at the end of the season, or has already joined. He's just gone back on loan, hasn't he?
Yeah.
Leon are absolutely battering Juve by the looks
Doing
of things.
absolute bits down that game. Brilliant move down the left-hand
Jeez,
side.
maybe.
This is without
Here you go.
Memphis, by the way.
Oh my
Oh
days.
god.
Okay.
Awful.
What are we doing there?
Oh, someone's gone down for Manchester City. It looks like either
Otamendi?
Laporte.
I think it's
Oh, is
Laporte.
it Laporte?
Oh,
Oh,
no,
no.
this is disaster. This is game over.
Oh, it's done.
Oh,
So
no.
Fernandinho is very much looking like he's coming on.
Here's the replay of the cross. Great win from Benzema.
Oh no.
He falls over.
Vinicius just completely
falls
misjudged
over.
it. Just completely
I
misjudged
think he
it.
expects the ball to come closer
Yeah.
to him.
Oh, no, he's just
He
not
just
reached
slipped.
it.
It's not good.
Brilliant
What
by
a-
Leon, though, by the way, in the other game. They
Yeah,
are
who
playing
plays the
some
ball in? It's
unbelievable
fantastic.
football right now.
Wow, I mean that's a shock for you.
Howling with delight.
Shock for Juve, and I mean even a bigger shock.
Yeah, Leon was
arguably a
seen
bigger
as
shock for
the
City too.
weakest team left in the competition, pretty much, weren't they?
Lads, you've got to feel though.
Yeah, I
did
suppose
so
maybe
well.
Valencia.
This is absolutely massive. So the stretch
Yeah.
is coming on at the Bernabeu.
Oh,
Laporte,
that does not look good for
it's
Laporte,
so
man.
gutting for him. Like he's City's best defender by distance. He's City's
missed
like main
30
source
games
of
this
bringing
year.
the ball out of defence as well. Fernandinho goes back there. I mean he's looked pretty assured in the Premier League, but this is the Bernabeu in the Champions League, coming on at centre back in an unfamiliar position.
And
This
this
is tough,
this
yeah,
again
really
illustrates, it's like I was saying
say
to
on
Zach
familiar.
last night about the Bayern team. The teams across Europe have far deeper squads than the Premier League. Other than
least
maybe
more versatile
Liverpool,
players, maybe, I don't know.
Liverpool, I look at like Manchester City, Chelsea, who are left in it. Tottenham, the squads are so thin compared to some of these.
I don't know. I
top
think
European
I
sides.
think City's squad still matches up pretty well. It does.
Really?
I think it matches up pretty well. Yeah. I mean, okay, but Bayern's like the way that Bayern have dealt with their defence this season. I think defensively Bayern are incredibly deep, but. I don't know, if you look at Bayern's forward line compared to City's forward line, I think City are way more deep in the forward areas, for example. But they just, but their sticking point has been defence this season, and that's what's been their undoing. So that they have,
God.
that has been a massive disadvantage for them. Whereas, like, say if Lewandowski got injured for like, for as long as Laporte's been out, then they'd be having like a lot of problems going
Guys,
forward.
I have you've got to watch a bit more of this Lyon game. Lyon are tearing them apart. Moussa Dembele just ran like 30 yards through midfield, and then he, not a good shot in the end. But Juventus, you got to be careful because you could be 2 or 3 down before you know it here, and that's tie over.
Oh no! Another City player's gone down. Gundogan
So much drama.
holding his knee.
Uh-oh.
Oh, that would not be exciting.
You don't want to be 2
It
subs
will
down
be
in
an
33
injury.
minutes.
I don't want to watch it if it is.
Ooh,
And it
an
is
ankle, I think, maybe.
I
I
think
think
it might be his
Modric
ankle.
gets a hold of it. I'm sure
It's
it's
more of a
innocuous.
collision rather than a.
It's definitely not a foul.
It's definitely not a foul. He doesn't mean to.
Maybe his knee.
But it looks like his ankle slightly gets rolled as well. That look like it could be a few things. God, if City have to make 2 injury changes within 33 minutes, we're not going to see Sterling and Aguero. We're going to see one of them. Like this completely changes the complexion of this game.
What happens is his right ankle
His
there.
right
just
ankle gets
wrapped,
when it gets
I think.
flipped.
Here you go,
over.
Ooh, Cristiano Ronaldo having a shot. I mean, not really that close. I mean, he's also got to beat Ronnie Lopez, who's a pretty decent
Right.
goalkeeper
He's right.
for
Good
Leon.
one's okay.
Is it okay? Right, we're back on
good.
at
This
the
is a
Bernabeu.
massive result for Rudy Garcia, who's not a particularly loved man in Leon. Given
But what does
his
it mean for-
ties to Marseille?
What does it mean for Maurizio Sarri, I guess, if they lose today?
Oh, gosh,
he's
almighty.
expected to win the Serie A. He might not do that. And he's expected to at least try and get to the semis, if not win the
Well,
competition for
Pochettino's
Champions
also
League.
available.
And also, that it wasn't just about winning those. It wasn't about winning those competitions. He was supposed to usher in a new era, a new style of play. And
Oh, is he off?
whenever I've watched Juve this
That's
season,
insane.
which isn't as much as I'd like, but there's no evidence of any progression in terms of style of play. At least like at Chelsea, it wasn't always that effective, but you could really see a style of play developing. Whereas at Juventus, he's effectively had to find a formation that
It's his second as well, because he did Vinicius
makes the most of
last
the
time.
Dybala
that
and
is-
Cristiano Ronaldo's individual brilliance, rather than like a team structure that's particularly working for them. So I think there's a lot of question marks over Sarri.
Jeez Louise.
Yeah, I would
Rodri
totally
very
agree.
lucky to be on the field.
This is a big chance for Real Madrid, though.
Rodri should be on a yellow card right now. Vinicius,
He is on the yellow card.
No, he's not.
Yeah, he got booked after the first one.
No, he didn't get.
No, he
booked.
didn't.
He didn't get
Did
booked
not?
after the Vinicius.
No, he just got a telling
No,
off.
he got told off.
Oh, really? Oh,
We've got confirmation from George behind the camera. He's wagging his finger. That's a
Okay,
no.
He didn't get booked. That's
I'm
why I mean
wrong,
he should
normal.
have been on a
Oh,
yellow card.
a player
right
on the deck for Real Madrid there. Could it be a penalty? No,
Yeah.
he's given away a free kick
kick.
instead.
Sarri incensed on the touchline in Lyon
Oh,
as well.
look at him. Play for Algeria, please.
Zach, let's get another question.
Indeed. There's someone here who has said, I'm trying to find his name, but I can't find it, mate. I'm sorry. But they said, who in the last decade has been the most underrated national team?
Ooh,
Bit of a
Macubsy, your
curveball.
football history is very good.
I'll
now. Lovely
find his name.
KDB.
You got any shouts in here?
Underrated national. It's hard to say with underrated because it's just like basically based on tournaments.
I'd probably
know.
say Belgium, talent-wise, have always been up there, but they've slightly choked and probably should
Yeah.
have.
But
Santiago
I feel
Marshall
they,
again.
Yeah.
They've never like performed.
Portugal?
Portugal. What they did. I mean, they did win the Euros.
Won the Euros.
They were fairly competent, if unspectacular, at that
I've
tournament.
never particularly enjoyed watching Portugal. I have
But
to
like,
say.
I mean,
Someone
in terms
mentioned
of
Chile. They've won
Yeah.
the Copa
Yeah.
America twice.
I think they've won
Yeah.
it 3 times.
Oh, 3 times.
yeah, they won it 2 years in a row, didn't they? Yeah, I think they might have won it 3 times. God, that's a lot though. And they also put Spain out of the 2014 World Cup, which is pretty impressive. Probably unlucky to lose to Brazil. Or was it? Oh God, I can't remember. Was it Brazil or Colombia they went out to in the round of 16?
I think it might have been Colombia.
I also think
Lovely
Conte's
Leon.
Italy team, I think for me, were probably the best team at Euro 2016 and were unfortunate to lose in the quarterfinals against Germany. Do you remember that Simone Zaza
Yeah.
run up?
Oh, yeah.
Maybe the worst
Leon.
penalty shootout ever.
And in terms of talent as well, like it feels
You've got to
like
be careful
he
with his
really
hand
got the
there.
most out of
He
that.
got so much
I
out of it.
remember it was like Graziano Pelle
Yeah.
up front, wasn't it?
It was literally that. Watching Conte's
yeah,
Italy at that Euro 2016 convinced me that Chelsea were going to win the league. The
Really?
next year.
There's a
And,
VAR
yeah.
decision in the Leon-Juve game.
I
of
dunno,
a
I think they
potential
might-
handball penalty for Leon.
Interesting.
Yeah, the referee's just listening
Interesting.
now. The ball came across to the back post and potentially hit Juan Cuadrado on the arm.
Oh my lordy.
So no, it's not been given.
No,
They're
fair
playing on. So still 1-0, but it's all Leon. It's all Leon in France right now.
Yeah, great decision.
I'm not sure
Vinicius
about
has
that.
got Kyle Walker
Nah,
on toes.
On his knee. Yeah, I mean,
Okay.
I don't know.
Probably not.
Right,
We'd probably
City look
complain
so
if it was.
rattled
We've
by
got
this,
about 9 minutes till
football
half
injury.
time. If you're joining us for the first time, it is 0-0 in the Bernabeu. But please remember to subscribe to EuroFootball Daily and hit that notification bell. And there looks like there's a massive shock potentially emerging at the Groupama as well. Lyon are 1-0 up to Juventus, which we are keeping our eyes on as well. Zach, have you got another question for us?
Yes, a lot of people suggested Japan, by the way,
Oh, okay.
and there's also a shout for an Ivory Coast. I'd also like to put Algeria in there. Now this
You've
one
won a
comes
couple
from
of AFCONs, haven't you?
we won the
What?
AFCON just
one.
last year. This one comes from Kushagra Sachan. I'm pretty sure I've said that name twice and butchered it both times. They said hashtag Total Football. With player exoduses expected at Napoli this summer, where do you see their top players ending up? If you want to put your question, ask the boys, please put it in the comments below.
Well, this is pretty topical because I was reading an Athletic article the other day that said De Laurentiis has promised Alan and Koulibaly summer moves.
Wow.
Which is
Go
pretty seismic, to be honest. And you'd imagine that City will be looking for a centre-back this summer. I think Koulibaly might be a bit pricey if they're wanting to strengthen in a few other areas as well. But we'll see, especially if they're trying to now comply with these regulations that they've never taken much interest in. Alan, apparently, he's been looked at by Everton. And I imagine numerous other clubs, but he's now 29. But he'd be a great signing.
Carlo Ancelotti there as well.
Yeah, exactly. Former player. Sorry, McCubs. And then it looks like Mertens will probably leave at some stage as well.
I
Having
think
been linked
he
so
scored
strongly
yesterday,
in January.
He's got to now be very close because I think the thing with him was always the goal record.
Well, he's level with it now.
So there you go. Well, if he can, you'd expect him to score another goal to break it. I think he'll be happy to kind of move on then.
Would you take an Insigne at Chelsea?
Happily.
Yeah.
Happily. I'd happily give
Really?
Insigne. Yeah, as a backup striker, even possibly a third choice striker if we signed someone else.
More of a midfielder though,
Happily.
isn't he, Insigne?
Well, he likes to play on the
No,
left.
I think
Like-
he's played up top and on the left quite a lot for Napoli.
Would you, but yeah, that would be.
I think personally he offers something very different compared to what else we would currently have in our striking crop.
Ooh.
Very good
Yeah,
point, very
I
good
think that
point.
would be a poor signing, Insigne for Chelsea. I don't. think-
Sorry, you saying? I thought you said Mertens. I thought you were talking about Mertens.
No, it's
No,
not
I was
Insigne.
talking about Insigne.
Oh,
you
sorry.
could-
Uh-oh, the Leon
thought it
owner
was
again.
Mertens.
Here we go.
Oh
Mr.
my
Dembele's
God,
put
what
his
a-
foot through it, but
what
it's,
a
oh no, it's not
chance.
Mr. Dembele, sorry, it's
Akanji.
Toko Akanji.
Akanji, who has been a nightmare for
Right.
Juve to deal with. Great chance again.
He has hammered that.
Oh,
Ooh, it's all
but yeah,
going
just
on.
going back to Insigne, I just don't think he's the right man for Chelsea.
Sorry,
think they've got
I thought you meant
stockpile in that
Mertens.
position.
No, yeah, not Insigne.
With like Pulisic and Mason Mount and players that are going to want to play in that role.
Oh,
That was a
I mean,
nasty
if you
one.
are going to get Mertens in, surely Pedro and Willian have to
Oh,
go
my
in the
lordies.
summer, don't they?
so I think it was
Ooh.
Modric is absolutely. Oh no, it's not Modric. It's
Valverde.
Valverde's cannoned into Benzema at quite a pace,
I
and
don't
it's
know why
gone
he's
down
called
pretty
it
hard.
back.
Because of head injury.
It looks pretty.
Oh, is he giving a head injury?
Oh, it's
okay.
not as bad as it first looked actually, but it
Okay,
does look
the head
painful.
injury.
Precautionary.
Leon again on the attack. This is.
I can't believe what I'm seeing in the Lyon game. This lad over here is toasting Bentancur on the right of the Juve back line.
Yeah, it's not been a good
Ronnie's
performance from Juve
Ronnie's
at
got
all.
nothing at the moment. He's not giving
They are
anything.
seriously fired up because Lyon are not doing well in Ligue 1 whatsoever. They haven't been particularly impressive this Champions League campaign, and yet they have just brought their A game and more tonight so far.
But Juve just need one goal, don't they? Juve will be thinking if they get back to the Juventus Stadium at 1-1, even 2-1, they'll be fancying it.
So this
Sure.
question, guys, has come as said, hashtag Total Football. With FFP likely coming in for them, do you see Juventus moving on some of their players to reduce their massive wage bill?
I can imagine it's pretty big actually because they've obviously got Aaron Ramsey on huge wages,
Yep.
haven't they? Which probably hasn't worked out quite as well as Aaron Ramsey would have wanted. I think he's got something like 2 goals in sort of 15 Serie A appearances. Not bad, but hasn't probably been given the game time that he would have been expecting. And a lot of those have come off the bench as well. So there might be a move for Aaron Ramsey. If you were someone like Bernardeschi, it doesn't look like you're particularly favoured by Sarri either. Matuidi's probably coming to the end of his time at Juventus as well. So yeah, you might see a few departures. But I wasn't actually aware that their wage situation was so bad.
I think Higuain's got to go as well. Surely, I mean, I know he's been good this year, but
He also eats a lot of wages.
yeah, he's a massive amount of
Eats
wages.
a lot, full stop.
They spent a lot of money on him in the first place as well. Yeah, I mean, if you're looking to renew that squad and reduce wages,
Here you go, Leon.
We've got another 3-on-3.
Should have
Here
given
we
it
go.
earlier.
Oh! Having said that, a candy
Fine.
again. The ex-Villarreal man, absolutely tearing it up.
Killing it.
We've got about 3 minutes left in the first half at the Bernabeu. It's had its moments. Gabriel Jesus had a chance. Obviously, Kevin De Bruyne had a chance as well, and Benzema had a good header save. But Joe, what have you made of the first half at the Bernabeu? Have you been impressed by anyone in particular? Have you been surprised by anything?
Uninteresting, I think. It's been pretty dull, to be totally honest. Manchester City aren't really going to go for it. It feels like they're sitting back and waiting for chances to just pick off loose passes and things from Real Madrid. They've looked okay on the counter-attack. I think Gabriel Jesus has looked particularly good. So that will at least be a positive for Pep. And Real Madrid I haven't been that impressed by at all. I just don't think they've got anything going forward. It feels like it's mediocre going forward. Vinicius looks like the most lively, but I've seen absolutely nothing from Isco to suggest he's going to cause them a problem.
And it feels like, because Isco is so keen to come inside, Carvajal's having to do a lot of work on the left flank, on the right flank, by himself, and like he's been caught out of position quite a few times just with men over. So it feels like maybe Zidane would want to take off Isco and maybe put on someone a bit more defensively minded like Lucas Vazquez, because it feels like most of Man City's dangerous plays are coming down their left-hand side.
I think I would put on Gareth Bale on the left, and I'd just try and pin Benjamin Mendy back a little bit. But at the moment it's like Manchester City are just trying to win loose ball in the final third, press high, win loose ball, and then quickly react and not lose too much defensive organisation. And Real Madrid they just look pretty kind of impotent going forward. Just haven't really got much going for them. So
Man City's general playing tempo is a lot slower than normal as well. We've seen them take a lot more touches than normal. They seem quite happy to have quite slow possession at times in the opposition half.
Ronaldo
on free kick, there's no way. But
yeah.
Of course, that happens all the time with Ronaldo. He scored a couple of bangers back in the day, but
he did hit the bar against Spal at the weekend, which I saw. But I mean, it happens all too rarely.
I've just checked though. Apparently,
great ball over the top.
Alexis Sanchez has the coronavirus, but I double checked it. It's not that. People have got confused because Inter Milan are playing behind closed door due to the virus.
So they just
calm
accuse
down.
Sanchez of having
Everyone in the comment section saying Alexis Sanchez has a coronavirus. He does not. They're just playing behind closed doors.
Against in Ludogorets, I think in the
someone has said is coming up to half time. What do you think both teams need to do in the second half to win?
Real Madrid need to bring on some attacking impetus. It's rubbish going forward. Get Gareth Bale on the pitch, get Jovic on the pitch, change something up, because going forward, not good enough. And I also want to see Toni Kroos.
Toni Kroos. I think getting Toni Kroos on for Modric maybe just gives them a little bit more going forward.
I'd like to see Man City go for it a bit more. I know it's a 180-minute game, obviously.
Corner though.
You don't want to, we've seen Man City lose in flurries in the Champions League over the last few years. That capitulation at Anfield, I think they conceded 3 goals in 25 minutes. They obviously don't want to do that, but a little bit more ambition from them, and I think this game is there for the taking.
Yeah, I agree.
If you put on a Sterling, move Jesus centrally, and then maybe take off Jesus at 60 for Aguero, I think that's quite a good option. Real Madrid, I agree with Joe, haven't looked particularly dangerous, at least from general play.
Goal! Goals came off the line.
The
line.
They had 4 different men on the line there. It was a great ball out to the wing. De Bruyne.
A goal here would be amazing.
What's Courtois having a funny 5 minutes? Courtois had a nightmare.
Why is this going
I don't know.
I don't think he was even touched. We need to see that again, but De Bruyne whips in the ball.
What's he doing?
And it looks like
he kind of palms it
out to Gabriel Jesus, was it? We need to have another look. What goes on, Joe, here?
I'm not sure what on earth Thibaut
did. That's awful.
Misjudges it.
Horrific bit of goalkeeping and lucky on the line.
Sergio Ramos. Men on the line.
Sergio Ramos gets it wrong, and
Bernardo
it's Casemiro who keeps him off.
If Bernardo gets that
flick. It is Sergio Ramos. Nearly an own goal from him.
But dearie me, Thibaut Courtois, that would have been a whiff.
Look how close Bernardo is to getting this. That could have been it. That's probably, along with the Benzema header, the best chance of the first half.
Easily.
There you go, and it's half time.
It's half time. Isco's taking off his beat.
when you can hear the sound, because that's all the comments are saying right now. And until I get that, there's probably no point in saying anything.
No.
I might nip to the toilet.
Okay,
Is
go
that
for
all
it.
right? This might be a first on the Total Football, but
No
I'll be
worries.
back
We'll
in
we'll
1
hold
second.
it down, McCubbs.
Yeah.
We're coming back. Sorry.
We're coming back. We're coming back to you in 1 minute. We're just mic issues.
Can you
Mic
hear
is it
us?
issues. We are coming back. We're back. I think we are back.
We're
Sound
back.
should be back.
Sound is
hearing-
back. Are you with
Can
The
us?
you hear
mics
us?
are back.
Let
Thanks,
us know.
Thanks for bearing with
Please.
us during that minor interruption.
Yeah, I'm sorry about that, guys. Well, I don't know what quite happened there. I hope you weren't without hearing for a long time. But we seem to be back.
There we go.
In good
Yeah,
voice.
thank
Yes,
you
the
very
comments.
much,
Sorry
everyone.
about that, guys. Sorry about
Really
that, guys.
appreciate you guys in the comments. Really appreciate that.
Anyway, get your questions
Please
in
do.
and let us know what you want us to answer. Zach, have you got one?
Yes, this one comes from an oh god. Hier komt el graag Vergben Steven. I really hope
That's a really good
that's
effort.
anywhere close. It's German. Hashtag Total Football.
Yes.
Which centre back should Real Madrid go for to replace Ramos in the coming years? Get your comments in, guys. We're gonna fly through them. Get them in now.
For goodness sake, they signed €50 million, 21-year-old Eder Militao. If that's not the signing for the future, I don't know what is. The guy can't get a minute. It's madness. He was meant to be the signing for the future, and he just can't get a game, can he? Hopefully, he'll be the guy to take it on long term. But like I said earlier, if he's not going to get any game time, he's going to leave. He's going to want to leave, isn't he? And probably the signing they wanted long term. I'm just not sure that Zidane fully trusts him after that PSG.
Fair dues.
I think the outstanding sort of quite young centre back in Europe on the basis of this season is probably Upamecano.
I knew you were saying.
But if you're going for a more experienced option, that would probably be, maybe a slightly bit cheaper and ready to instantly hit the ground running in the next couple of years, I'd probably go for Skriniar.
Fair
I
dues.
think both are quite good options. In terms of the Premier League, probably none of our centre backs are quite ready, I would have thought. But keep an eye on Joe Gomez for 3 or
he's
4 years' time.
unreal.
I think he is going to be a top class centre
100%.
back.
100%. Remember, we're
As long as
flying
he
through
stays
these
injury
boys.
free. As long as he stays injury free.
By the way, guys, Michael McCubbin will be back. He's just taking a quick break.
Nature
Mike,
calls.
not saying that, surname. If you could bring one retired player back to your club, who would it be? Hashtag Total Football. Get the questions in. We're going.
Super Kev. Kevin Phillips, obviously.
Not Larson.
I did love Seb Larsson, but he was not
Took a
a
great
good,
free
He
kick,
was not
Seb
on the same
Larsson.
level of player as Kevin Phillips. But no one wants to hear anything about Sunderland. Joe, who are you bringing back?
Obvious answer is Paul Scholes, but I would probably say that the right man for Manchester United, retired player, would be Roy Keane.
I thought you were going to say Carrick. I really thought you were going to say Carrick, but Roy Keane.
Roy Keane. I think Roy Keane would be the man I would bring back just to rattle a few skulls.
What do you
in
think
that
Roy
game.
Keane would make of Fred? I don't know.
Oh, what would he make of
He'd
Pogba
be
and
in his
everyone?
ear, or like Fred would
Everyone.
become such a better player just for having Roy Keane
McCubbs,
screaming at him.
The
on
question was, who would
Yeah.
you, of retired players from your club, who would you most like to see back? And Joe went with Roy Keane.
Roy Keane, yeah,
You
Roy
want to see
Keane's hard.
Giggsy? You want to see
Need a
Neville?
right winger, Mikey, so don't be afraid to say Bex.
Yeah, I mean,
What
yeah,
about Rio?
Bex would actually be unreal because
they got decent
we don't
defensive
have
Rio and Maguire just locking it out?
Bex would be great because we don't really have anyone with that amazing delivery in the squad, to be honest.
Put some respect on Bruno's
And
name.
that's like, yeah, I
Bruno.
mean, Bruno,
Bruno.
okay.
Give him a
to be
sec.
fair. But like also a free kick specialist as well. But anything to not see Fred stand over them. But I don't know, man. I would love to like Rooney in his prime at United. I'll always love.
Yeah.
And sit like, I don't know. That's we don't really have. At least with Rashford out, it's just like there's no one who like has that magic up top. So yeah, Rooney, I always love him.
Zach,
I'd like
who are
to
you bringing
stress,
back?
Me, John Terry.
Nice.
Oh,
He would sort out a lot of your
yeah,
problems,
John
actually.
Terry. I'd like to remind
To
him.
play alongside.
Not Ashley Cole.
I thought maybe it was going to be Ashley Cole.
Ashley Cole would be pretty. Either or.
Peak
Either or.
Ashley Cole, yeah.
Play
Who would you
alongside-
want John Terry to play alongside? Rudiger? Left and right?
Christensen's look pretty special.
Dream world, like I don't know, Tamori Christensen, but I mean probably tactically, yeah, Rudiger Christensen. Yes, I will remind you guys. There needs to be quick answers. Flying through.
Yeah, sorry, we're
half-time.
flying through them. Bang on.
God, would peak Pele and peak Maradona be the best in the world right now.
No,
If they were
because there's a
playing
player
today.
called Lionel Messi that's walking the face
The
of the
goat.
earth right now. He is human. Believe the myth. He is human, and he's walking the earth right now. No.
Yeah. You can walk on water, I've heard.
He might have the
Messi.
coronavirus. Is the only thing with Messi though.
He doesn't have the
According to our
coronavirus.
Snapchat, he might do.
He doesn't have the coronavirus, and it's not according to our Snapchat.
Fake news.
But that is an interesting question because obviously it's really difficult to say, and obviously players are a lot fitter, they're a lot more aggressive, they're faster. Well, maybe not more aggressive actually, but they're definitely faster and stronger than they were in those days. I like to think, having watched a lot of videos of Maradona, he'd absolutely walk it these days as well. Technically looks superb. Haven't seen enough of Pele, but yeah, I think they'd both be good players. I don't think they'd be on Messi's level, and I don't think they'd probably be on Ronaldo's level over the last 10, 15 years either, if I'm totally honest.
Yeah. It's funny though when you listen to old players who played in Maradona's era, especially South American players, they always say Lionel Messi wouldn't have a patch on Maradona.
Really?
It's really funny to hear that because it's just when you look at their records, Messi clearly better in terms of just the amount of amazing goals Messi scored, the amount of but I don't know. I think the Argentina thing is a big thing, isn't it, with Messi?
But do you
It's
think
if
that's
he won
also old players slightly looking back with rose-tinted glasses and being like, oh, in my day, it was all better and harder.
I think it's old defenders as well who just still have nightmares about playing against Maradona, and they just don't have that same emotional connection with having to play against someone like Messi. So I think there's a number of factors, but yeah, I think Maradona would be unreal, but yes, it's a pretty difficult question.
Fair do. Solskjaer1999 says #Total Football.
Hello.
When I say the word Champions League, who comes to your head?
Real Madrid.
Interesting.
Okay, not a player. Fair do.
Ronaldo.
Instantly, I thought of Ronaldo.
Cristiano
It's
Ronaldo.
his tournament.
The overhead kick against Juventus. That's literally what came
He
into my head.
owns this
That
tournament.
image of him going like this, holding up the Champions League, that's what actually came to mind.
He owns this tournament totally. I thought it was a team. So yeah, Ronaldo for me as well as a player.
You know, I think he.
Munich. Personally, Drogba.
Drogba,
Yeah,
it would for you.
The
yeah.
penalty, it's what a moment.
Scored
I still get
one
goosebumps
penalty
when I
in a
see.
shootout. Great.
Fair dues. Okay. I mean, he wasn't there to do it in 2008, so at least he got that time.
Yeah,
He got
sure.
sent
Yeah,
off.
he got sent off.
Sent
Yeah,
off the
exactly.
flop then.
Now, this one says Philip Lundell. Is Thiago the most underrated player in the world?
Sure.
Oh, underrated players in the world, it always comes up this question, doesn't it? Thiago's certainly up there, but that is partially warranted because of his injury record. If he didn't have such a horrific injury record, then he probably would be rated. But technically, yeah, you can understand why. Look at what he did to Chelsea last night. Just absolutely unbelievable on the ball, and also a workhorse. 9 tackles and interceptions last night, 15 ball recoveries. Fantastic
man.
player. So yeah, right up there. I think a player like Jamie Vardy is underrated.
Yeah, okay.
On the world stage. Look at what he's done to the Premier League, the best league in the world, so called by so many people, over the last 3 seasons. And I don't think enough respect gets put on his name.
Yeah, I think we might have a laptop issue. Is that about to run out of batteries?
I'm on it.
Run, Joe!
But
Run!
in terms
Great
of
spot from you,
in
DJ.
terms of
Wow.
underrated, in terms of underrated players, you're always going to go for those consistent champions in their own league, or people who have achieved a lot of success that don't always get the credit, I think, for underrated players. And when I think of that, I think of Thiago Silva and I think of Verratti, because they played in PSG for so long now, played at PSG for so long, I should say. And they're never really in the discussion for best in the world in their positions. And yeah, you can get it with Thiago Silva being 35, 36 now. But they've been outstanding for so long.
Yeah.
So I think they're very underrated as well.
Yeah, Thiago Silva massively. There's a reason why he's still, in that defence, isn't there? I think Benzema as well for Real Madrid. I think he's only really started to get the respect he deserves in the last 12 months when we've realised that Real Madrid's attack is completely reliant on him. Was obviously so good in the Ronaldo years as well. And reminds me almost a little bit of Rooney in terms of when Ronaldo was at United, Rooney was just his enabler. And as soon as he left, he just took the mountain on himself. And that's exactly what Benzema's done at Real Madrid. What in the Ronaldo years, Benzema kind of sacrificed his own output for Ronaldo.
Yeah.
And since Ronaldo's gone, Benzema's had to do it, and has had to do it at a much older age than what Rooney had to do at United as well. So I think Benzema's got to get a shout. Although I think he is getting more recognised in the last year.
Mike says, I only want 3 words here, or 3 teams. What 3 teams do you want promoted into the Prem? Do you want? Not sorry, who will?
Do you want?
Do you want promoted?
What, in a couple of years or just next year?
Next year.
Leeds and Brentford have to be in there for me.
Fairs?
Leeds.
Yeah, why not? Yeah.
United
Come
fan,
on.
Leeds would be
but-
fun.
doesn't
It would be a
matter.
great story.
Yeah.
Wow.
You want to see Leeds?
Classic.
Hate Leeds, but
Love
Brentford,
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 I agree.
Brentford.
Brentford, Bristol City, Nottingham Forest.
Well, I feel like West Brom really deserve it now. I mean, they're 7 points clear.
But does anybody want to see West Brom in the Prem?
I'm not too fussed really about who goes up, to be totally honest. I agree with the Cubs. Brentford have been an interesting project for quite a while. Leeds, I think, would add so much to the Premier League. Their fans, that storyline. But I don't really mind. I just want us to get out of League One.
Fair dudes. Lucas Stubbs says top 5 best footballers at FD.
Oh, this is quite easy.
Obaseki number 1.
Obaseki.
Although his injury record does,
Yeah,
is
I mean, it
questionable.
does.
It's
It's
questionable.
very,
Right, we can
very
each,
true.
we can each do our
Very,
top 5.
very
I would go. Well, does Milad count? All right.
No.
All right, Milad doesn't count. I'll go like Obaseki. Jay is very good.
Jay's very good.
Jackson. Wait, have I missed anyone out?
Danny Pape.
Danny Pape and Joe Walzak.
Oh, brilliant. Oh, thank you.
Yeah, I would
Jacko
go
was
very
surprised
similar.
there.
I'd go very
I think Jacko is good
Obaseki number 1 for me.
by quite a distance.
I think, by a massive
Didn't have
distance.
to say that. Yeah, you could have not said that.
I think Danny Pape in 5s comes in
Very,
second.
very good.
And 11s, maybe not. But in 5s, clinical, incredible feat. Danny Pape falls in at
keeps
number
the ball
2 for
stuck
me.
at him.
Jay, potentially, at 3. I think he's got the potential to be a
He is a
to be
wonder
top
kid, he's
tier
only
footballer.
18.
Very young lad. And once he puts on some physicality, I could see him being a top level
He's still
talent. And
young.
he has been hitting the gym.
He
has
has
been.
been.
He has been.
No
So
days off.
obviously, if he can develop his physicality, I could see him with that technical ability really racing up the ranks.
I like
Yeah.
it. The Cubs, have you got anyone else
I
to
suppose
throw
only
in?
4, isn't it, Jay?
I think Obba's. I don't know. He's
Oh,
not
he's
interested
gone.
now. He's
Yeah,
on
he's
his
gone.
Instagram.
Yeah,
But
he's
I think
Sorry, I had a
Obba.
notification.
I think Obba is probably is top. New hire. Well, I say new hire. We've had him for a few months now. But Henry, you haven't really
Henry
seen.
Hoover, yeah.
Henry.
He's Henry.
I can't judge Henry yet. I
Hugh.
can't judge him quite
I
yet.
think he's
I mean,
good.
I've only seen him in
I
5-a-side
do think
setting,
he
but
is good.
similar, I think, to Obaseki actually. As a midfielder, like he's very good at bringing other players into the game, which I think is a big,
Wow,
big
Less
That
of
is
a,
a
less,
great
of a,
compliment.
less of a man-on-man threat.
That
is
is
it?
a-
Monstrous
but
compliment
yeah.
for Henry the Hoover.
That
there
is
to be
a
compared to
very
Obaseki.
big compliment. Wow.
Well,
Okay, that's two.
I played with them
agree.
both.
I think he's a good
I
player.
played with them both a couple of weeks ago, and it was great. It was great to play with them both in the same team.
I think do
I
you
think Joe.
as well?
Yeah, I think
I think
You-
that's
you-
very
You are a
generous.
very good utility player.
I think that's very generous. I'm quite fit, but I'm not actually very good at football.
Yeah, I think Joe as well. I do like Joe as a
Thompson,
player.
very
bit
I
rash,
think yeah. Well, of course, but on the ball, off the ball, yeah, maybe a bit rash, but on the ball, I think you're very good. Atkins is standing over here because I need to give him a shout out as a keeper. So like Atkins is probably our best keeper at the moment.
Are we going to
trying
talk
think.
about?
If there's a
Jay's
certain
good,
type
I know.
of game as well,
That's all right.
if there's a certain
Thank
type
you,
of game and there's a
I'm
lot
not
of
particularly
space and it's not
Yeah.
that physically demanding, actually Hamill comes into his own.
You know what? I
A
think,
lot of it's there, mate.
No, but like he is good on the ball.
Yeah, I
if
think-
given a bit of time.
I think
Yeah.
Hamill's
that
actually.
sounds really rude, but
No,
he's
no,
a lot
I
better
think-
footballer than I am.
I
but-
think Hamill. I think
It just has to be a certain game.
as a DM, Hamill can
If we're
function
controlling
very, very
the
well.
game,
But he
I
has
think-
big problems with his leg size.
Yeah. No. Even he admits
Alex,
it.
yeah.
Yeah, he just can't cover the ground.
It's
Yeah.
true. It's true. But as someone who just as someone who can just kind of like he doesn't necessarily like make mistakes or whatever. If he just stays in his position, doesn't try and get forward,
Yeah.
then like Hamill's very effective.
Yeah.
But
We're talking about George's jelly ankles. George Wright.
Yeah.
oh George,
George,
yeah,
George
bit
can
of a
pull off
dark
a couple
horse.
of worldies, though.
Jelly
Couple of
eel
worldies.
ankles.
Right, well, it
Couple
hangs
of
out on that
nutmegs.
right wing. And also, most improved. This sounds really patronising, but Adam Templeman's got a lot better.
He's got a good touch.
I
Adam
actually now
Templeman.
think he's a very good five-a-side player.
the thing is with Temp.
Zach is not impressed by that. That is savage on your
I'm
house,
not
mate.
saying anything.
Temp's just hadn't played football for 2 years. That's why you think he's
I
most
think,
improved. He went from not playing to playing again.
I mean, the last time you saw him play, he did a throw-in like this. That being said, the games have just kicked off. I do think an honorary mention as well should go to Sav and Sam Coffey.
Oh my
forget
word.
that.
Oh, I forgot.
Sam.
I mean,
Sam
they're
is
technically not
Yeah,
football
technically
daily.
not FD, but they
football
are
daily.
as well.
But yeah, Sam's very good.
Those
Sam
two
is a very
are.
good footballer.
Sam as well, the energy on him is
Coffee's the fittest guy on our floor, isn't it?
Yeah, I would have thought so.
unbelievable. So they are definitely honorary mentions. I feel like we mentioned everyone in the team and gave them a good compliment.
Pato, what about Pato?
He's got,
You
know
okay,
what,
he's got a good weak foot.
He's very aggressive.
And since hitting the gym, Pato gets around the pitch way more.
And he has one hell of a toe punt.
Yeah.
Doesn't he? He has Minecraft feet.
When he-
just full toe evil, Pato. It looks like somebody's moving a sledgehammer towards the ball.
Yeah, but if you think he gets angry on FD shows, wait till you see him on the pitch. There's a lot of effing and blinding.
Yeah.
God,
yeah.
there is. We need to play football again.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah.
We do.
Love it.
Yeah.
Next
Would
week.
you guys like to see that?
Oh, I like that though.
Yeah,
It's a
maybe
little
we could
half-time
film. Maybe we
entertainment.
could film it and
Yeah, that
make a
would be
series.
We haven't tried though.
But we are back underway at the Bernabeu for a massive 45 minutes. It feels like this game is there for both sides.
I'm
Have
just
there
going
been
to
any
check
subs?
Twitter to see if there's been any changes.
Oh,
Don't
good
think
thinking.
I have. Looking at the.
Well, I
the
saw
City
Rabiot
bench.
come on, or Rabiot on for Juve. Did he start?
Yeah, he
I think
started.
so.
He
Yeah.
started. Okay, fair dues.
Zachary, let's have our first question of the second half, just as we sort of settle down.
Yes, okie dokie. This one comes from the Diamond Brewer, and he has a City badge, but it's not a City question.
Ooh,
Interesting.
snake.
Will Jose Mourinho win any trophies at Spurs?
I mean,
See,
are Spurs still in the FA Cup? They are, aren't
Yeah.
they? So I think
they've got Norwich.
I reckon Spurs are going to win the FA Cup this year.
That would be so annoying.
It would be
though.
so Mourinho to do that, to come in and just win the FA Cup
With four
in
players.
a fluky manner as well. I think they'll fluke their way to the FA Cup. I could just see it. I thought that's what they were going to do when he came in, and
Guess
so far they're
I can
doing
already
all right
see
in
what
the
he'd
FA
say.
Cup,
He'd
so-
say it's my greatest
No changes,
victory as a
yeah.
manager.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah, no
I've
Kane,
overtaken
No
this.
Kane, no
I've
Son.
overtaken this squad, which was in a mess, and I've got no players, and they're all useless. He's doing all his usual theatrics
Yeah,
at the
he
moment,
is.
and
Yeah,
everyone's
the cards
buying
come
it.
there.
He's very frustrating. He'll probably win a trophy at some stage, probably in the next 2-3 years.
Mourinho.
A cup.
A
Probably.
League Cup
I don't
would
think
not
they'll win a
surprise
league.
you,
They
would
won't
it?
win a
No,
Champions
but what's the
League.
original question though?
Will
Will
Mourinho
Will
win?
Mourinho win
Will he
any
win a cup?
trophies at
I
Spurs?
thought it was major. No, I don't think he'll win a single trophy.
I've seen a comment saying, please bring FDFC back.
Got an
It's
18.
amazing.
Got an 18. match.
So this comment we're actually going to talk about on Sunday Vibes tomorrow, so maybe not go too in depth on it. But is the Premier League still the best league in the world? And was it ever?
Well, yeah, it definitely was.
Depends how you
100%. When we went three semi-finalists out of 4 about 3 years in a row.
Even last season.
About 2005 to 2010.
I think 2005 to 2009,
Nine.
but basically before Ronaldo left, was clearly the best. I think basically from the moment that Pep Guardiola in the 12 months that Klopp, Pep Guardiola and Conte came to the Premier League, I think from then until basically last summer or this season essentially, I think it was also the best in the world. I think it's so it's funny actually how the kind of managerial talent has such a big effect on it, and you see Lampard in at Chelsea and Solskjaer in at United, and suddenly that top 4 and obviously Poch's project at Spurs coming to an end, and suddenly that top 6 is so much weaker, man. It's just has such a big difference. Having said that, I think the bottom half of the Premier League is the strongest it's been in a long time, but you generally judge it on the best teams, and this season, I don't know, maybe Germany even have a more exciting teams towards the top of the table there. At least it's more competitive. So
it depends what I agree with McCarthy. It
remember
depends what you're
it's
looking
a
for.
break.
If you're looking for
It's a good
competitiveness
chance.
at the top
Go
of the
on, KDB.
table,
It's a good ball. It's a really good ball.
Mahrez.
Riyad
cut
left
in
foot.
and
Oi!
Oh,
man.
Jesus.
My.
It's such a Riyad Mahrez shot. Takes his time a
I
little
think
bit,
it's a bit
cuts
further
into the
than you
left,
think.
what further wide?
it's a
and
little bit further. I
whips
don't
it
think-
round.
I don't think he does well enough here, Mahrez. I don't think he does well
This will be a
enough.
good angle. This will be a really good angle.
So-
Awful
Silly
by
there from
Casemiro.
Casemiro goes for a
Yeah.
flick, and
Really
then De
does.
Bruyne runs
Lovely
No,
by
40,
KDB.
50 metres.
I don't think Mahrez does enough here. The run by Walker's awful, by the way. Cuts out all of his
I think
space.
that's really
Actually, the
close,
ball
Joe, man.
No.
I mean, he should probably go on target, but
Hit the target. Got to hit the
point
target.
well made. I was going to say, it is worth remembering, last year, Premier League was probably the best in the world. You had 2 finalists in both European competitions, Europa League and the Champions League.
I don't know whether necessarily getting to the
getting
2 finalists to the
Very
top of
true.
the Europa League deserves like that
Very
much
true.
credit. I know it was like quite a feat for one nation to have 4 finalists, but would you have said Spurs were anywhere near the best 8, 5, 6 teams in the Champions League last year? No, I'd say they went on a very good run, and like beat a Ajax side that had done very well, but were Ajax in the semi-final.
Even this year, though, it's worth remembering all the teams, even including Wolves, that made it into European competition are still in it.
Yeah, I feel like there's been this is so topical because it's not very competitive at the top of the Premier League, to say the least. It's by far the least competitive league in Europe,
got the best
including
team in the
Liga.
world, though.
But it's got the best team in the world. Having said that, they were quite easily shut down in the first leg at the Wanda Metropolitano. It'd be really interesting, that return leg.
Yeah, really.
Yeah, but it's only one game, isn't it?
It's only one game, but so far we've watched 3.5 games and the English teams haven't scored a goal.
Yeah. It's a very good
It's
point.
pretty depressing, isn't it?
Which is pretty depressing. And it looks like at least the Leipzig and Spurs game and the Bayern game is pretty much sewed up. I think everyone would be pretty amazed if Spurs made it through.
I think
Toasting Fernand Mendy.
good tackle.
But there's a long way to go. I feel like City and Liverpool are primed to go pretty far in this competition. So,
I think it's best to leave it there. If you want to see more of that, check out Sunday Vibes on Sunday, surprisingly.
There's a good chance for Juventus, by the way, in the Lyon game here. Cristiano Ronaldo stood over a free kick. about
Corner
20
as well as
yards from
City.
goal, and Kevin De Bruyne had
come on,
assist. Let's
KDB,
just
let's
watch
get a
these
good
games.
ball in.
What's the Lino doing on his toes?
Where the hell?
Oh.
No, it's cleared out now. Cristiano Ronaldo time.
His last
He
one hit the
stood
wall.
over it, but as is Pjanic,
Oh,
by the way.
No.
Pjanic over a dead ball this far out is a danger, isn't it?
Look at that
It's
chance.
too far, like,
So they're not
it's like
allowed
he's-
in the Champions League. You're not allowed to lie on the floor anymore. But
so you can squat with your
guess
knees.
You can squat and kick
Well,
your
there's
leg
no
out.
rule against that, I assume.
Surely he's going to cover his nuts. He's got his hands behind his back here.
There you go. Second free kick of the day, and it's
Pjanic,
hit.
no better in
Would you
that
take
occasion.
Isco off soon? We're getting towards the 55th minute here, and Isco,
For a Bale, maybe?
I'm just not sure what he's done.
Of Lucas Vasquez.
Marcelo.
You really would want Rodrigo on the bench, like just the pace he offers.
I think
is
Gareth
so-
Bale comes onto this
And scores the winner.
and scores the winner.
I mean,
would
it's a
be-
very Bale
that'd
thing
be
to do,
nice.
isn't
That
it?
would be such a story.
We want to give a shout out to the Discord. If you want to
Yes.
join the FD crew, the FD family, go over to the Discord. I'm sure there are links in our descriptions and on Twitter. And you can join a very, very good
Sorry for
community.
messing you guys around on Friday as well when I said that FD was closing down.
Why did you do that?
Doogie,
I was just testing.
Doogie
Were you
did do
drunk?
that. No, he
No.
wasn't. This one, though,
I think I'd had a beer.
This one comes
bet it
from... we're not leaving. This one comes from Tommy. And there's a hashtag Total Football. Use that hashtag and get it in the comments below for your questions. If you can go back in time and stop one transfer from happening, which one would it be?
This is quite a good question for United fans, actually.
Fernando
Where do we
Torres
start, lads?
to Chelsea is the one.
Oh,
okay.
Fernando Torres to Chelsea. I just
he-
loved him at Liverpool. Even
was-
though I hated him, I also
he was
loved
great
him.
at Liverpool. He was
played
already
a
in the-
crucial role in lots of Chelsea's success over the next 3 years.
Yeah, lovely man
I mean,
as well.
if
Lovely
we're talking
man.
Man United, there's only one answer, isn't it? Cristiano Ronaldo.
Wow.
Ronaldo.
No,
I
I
thought
thought
you
you
were
know-
going to say Alexis
You
Sanchez.
know what I was actually
No,
almost a
Ronaldo
bit
leaving.
sadder about that summer? I think Tevez to Man City was more heart-wrenching.
Man,
than-
if
than-
Man
than
United,
decide
Ronaldo
if Man
did.
United had
Oh, it
kept
was,
Ronaldo for his entire career, imagine what we'd have achieved.
Oh, unbelievable. Absolutely unbelievable.
And
Absolutely.
he wouldn't have thrown in the towel either because he's such a professional.
But also something like Mesut Ozil to Real Madrid, because if he hadn't gone to Real Madrid, he would have gone to United, and that could have made a huge difference to the. Kind
Or
of
if he'd
United
never
over
left
the-
Real Madrid, imagine what he could have created and the sort of acclaim.
It's
that
a
Mesut
great
Ozil
ball
would
there.
get.
Oh,
It's a great
Vinicius.
ball from Modric. Come on,
Vinicius.
Vinicius.
Oh, what has he done
that is
there, man?
You have
man.
completely
Far
overrun
too many
that,
touches.
Vinicius. You didn't even
You didn't
try
have
to
a
shoot.
shot.
There was such a good opportunity there. You were through on goal and you didn't have a shot.
And the accusations of Vinicius' final product not good enough,
There we go.
bearing fruit.
The
to
ball
there.
is just like tied under his feet. He can't get it out from under there.
He
and
does
get
get a
shot off.
slight...
No, he
There's a
doesn't.
little
No, he
bit of
doesn't. He's
pressure.
but I
tripping
mean,
there.
barely anything.
Oh, it's not
yeah.
a push.
No,
It's a
not.
bit
No,
silly
I
from
get it.
Walker
It's
though, but
barely anything.
yeah.
Wow.
Oh, Tebow! Oh my
Oh.
God, Edison
What
having a
was
shot
it?
on target there.
Yeah, legit. Edison
that actually
basically
for-
had
was
a,
that
had a
menacing?
goal kick and Courtois decided to
Love
chest
that.
it in his own box.
Edison's had more shots.
What's
on target
what's
than many
going
of
on in
City
the
sides.
Leon Juventus game? Some sort
Seems
of.
a little feisty, didn't it?
Leon seemed to
I've
be
just seen the ref.
complaining about
We're
something.
not sure.
but I'm sure we'll get a corner. Is the
Right,
one
guys.
in
It's
question.
approaching 55 minutes. In fact, we're 4 seconds short of it. Joe, let's start with Man City.
Yeah.
You're Pep Guardiola. Are you making any changes?
Not at the moment, I don't think.
Okay.
I think Gabriel Jesus is playing really well. He had a.
Here he is.
Given that we said
Nice.
that Sergio Aguero should be
Here
starting.
you go on his left foot.
Go on.
Oh, nice one.
Really?
That's cheeky.
Oh, that's good from Riyad.
Love it, Riyad.
That's nice.
Love it, Riyad.
That actually, he is always known for going on his left foot, so it's a good surprise.
Yeah, given that Jesus is playing well, Mahrez is playing well, proving us a little bit wrong without the inclusion of Aguero and Sterling, I wouldn't change a thing right now, just because they are still in the game.
They look
and
way
that's
better
the
than they
best
did in the first
I
half.
think that's
Dybala
the
on the
best
ball.
that they could have hoped for with that Laporte
That is a
injury.
terrible
Okay,
free
Joe,
kick.
Pep, Tomlinson not making any changes at the moment. What about Zinedine Zidane?
Yeah, I think there's probably more questions around Real Madrid at the moment. I think Man City, I think Real Madrid kind of looked a bit in control in the first half, despite not creating much. Now Man City, far more in control.
Oh, go on, Riyad. Here we
great
go.
touch.
No, it's not.
Oh,
That's an
What a
unbelievable
save.
save. The control from Riyad there is beautiful.
Oh my
Riyad
God.
Mahrez, 2
Tebow.
chances in about 2 minutes. Fantastic stuff.
Tebow
man.
there pulls off a worldie.
Great save.
A
Great
worldie.
save.
It's like, to be honest, the shot is pretty good. It's
looked
going to
offside,
the
didn't
bottom
it?
left-hand
It
I don't know
corner.
about you
offside.
guys, but my
No.
blood pressure is just rising. And
It
rising.
wants a goal. It needs. Oh,
I thought it was offside.
it's got to be a goal
I
coming
wonder whether
soon.
it would have been pulled back for offside.
Man
don't know.
City
I
are
don't know.
Yeah, it might have
purring
been.
in this second half at the moment. This is lovely stuff from them, although they need
They
to
need
be
a
going for
goal.
this counter.
God, Real
Yeah,
need
exactly.
to control the ball again.
Man City having a really good spell. Need that goal, as Joe says, that
But they're
away
so
goal.
dry going forward. Like, it's just, where's the support?
Yeah, there's nothing.
Oh, that's
yeah,
nice from
that's
Vinicius.
lovely
Turn.
from Vinicius. Where's Otamendi?
Against Kyle
This
Walker
is what
now.
I mean, the build-up is all good with Vinicius.
Send Otamendi. for
Okay,
a
but
ball
what happens
high.
here?
But this is where
It
it's
just gets
struggled.
dead, doesn't it?
It's a little bit easy though.
To be fair,
Ooh,
that's
okay,
another
that's
shot on
always
I
target.
want to see
Okay.
whether Mahrez was onside. It felt like he was offside, but
Such a good save.
Sorry,
Oh, that's not what
McCubs.
it's
Did you want to make any changes? I can't remember where we got to.
I'd give it 5 minutes, and then I think you do bring on Bale. To be honest, I think bring him on for Isco. I think you maybe get Marcelo warming up as well because he's so experienced in these ties. If you do want to make if you do want to make a slight kind of formation change or whatever, like Marcelo's quite versatile down the left, isn't he?
Because you could put Marcelo as a left winger almost.
You could.
And then
and I
put
mean,
Vinicius
you could
over to the
ball.
right,
Oh,
and then
great
you've
ball.
got quite a lot of pace.
Lovely
in
yeah,
either
ball.
way.
potentially. You probably so.
City attack here. Benjamin
This
Mendy
is
down the left hand
good.
side.
That
Not
was
good
poor
enough.
from Benjamin. He's
Oh,
got a
he's
corner,
got a corner.
but
It's got a corner. It's got a
I
corner.
mean, he had a shot.
But I think as well,
Here we
you
go.
do need to target that right side because we know that Benjamin Mendy is vulnerable defensively.
Yeah, I agree. Totally agree. Mahrez and
And his other one.
Jesus are playing pretty well.
Yeah.
I feel like I didn't see Mahrez at all in the first half, and now he's just in the game so much more.
Bar a slightly flapped cross in
Oi.
the first half.
Oh,
Both keepers have actually
nice
played really well so far. Bar a, no,
That
that's
is
wide.
scammy.
But yeah, bar a flapped cross at the in the first half from Courtois.
Yeah,
Edison's made a great stop. Courtois made a great stop. It's been tale of two keepers.
So, guys, Joshua Tracy has said, #Total Football. If Nagelsmann can take Leipzig far in the Champions League or win the Bundesliga, will he be prioritised by Man United over Poch?
It's a great question.
It's a
What
brilliant
manager was that,
question.
sorry?
It's a brilliant question.
Nagelsmann. If he wins the
Oh.
Champions, I mean, to be honest,
Imagine
even
he
if he
does.
doesn't win any of them, should he be prioritised?
I think it's fascinating.
I wouldn't prioritise either of them. I'd just try and get one of them. I don't think he'll be prioritised because Pochettino has. I know that really it shouldn't be taken into account, but I think it still is by clubs, that sort of Premier League experience. And yeah, I think.
Oh,
what
my God.
what have you done?
Here we go.
Isco.
It's a
Kyle Walker.
Kyle Walker shocker.
Kyle
Oh, my
Walker
days.
stinker alert.
This is not good. It just passed it back to the keeper, Kyle.
This is taking me back to the World Cup
Come and talk us through
semi-final.
what
Walker
earth's happened
era.
there.
Go on, Mikey.
Oh, I was like had my eyes off it, to be honest, but the ball breaks loose. Kyle Walker.
Oh,
Awful
dear.
Just
pass
pass it back
back.
to the
Back
keeper.
there to
Vinicius-
mop up.
yeah,
De Bruyne's
Vinicius just-
furious with him.
Yeah, let's have a look at that again.
Where's Kyle Walker going?
So
Well,
Rodri-
well, first of all, Otamendi not great there.
Poor.
And then Kyle Walker.
Oh,
Just absolutely outmuscled by
Vinicius.
Vinicius, which he can't be doing.
I think that is obviously that's a Kyle Walker error.
But also
I don't.
Otamendi and Rodri don't help.
Firing it into Rodri to then lose the ball, then it comes back at
Yeah.
Good
Walker
finish.
at a rate of knots, and yes, he loses it in his feet, but that is fantastic play from Vinicius and tidy from Isco.
Stinking by Otamendi.
Really,
Absolutely stinking.
He
Yet
knows.
again
Yeah.
by Otamendi.
Real.
It's not the first time we've seen that, is it? This season from Otamendi.
just City
rash.
defenders, one on like man to man, have just made far too many mistakes this whole year. Like they've scored I think only PSG have scored more goals than them in Europe's top 5 leagues, but their defence has just been pretty rotten throughout. And I just think there's far too many mistakes. And here they are in a game they've pretty much dominated, at least in this second half, and they're 1-0 down now.
With Laporte in that defence, that just doesn't happen, does it?
Yeah,
That's
so
the
true.
really sad thing for City fans.
I did forget that. Fernandinho and Otamendi
I
at the
wonder
back.
what's happened to Laporte. If there's any injury updates on Laporte, please let us know in the comments below. Because it obviously didn't look good, stretch it off. But yeah, you're right. He just doesn't happen if Laporte's on the pitch.
It's just
No,
such a
it's
shame
so
that
much
like there's a
control.
combination of factors at the centre of that defence. Obviously, they didn't replace Company. John Stones has had a pretty terrible year and is now 4th, 5th choice. Not even in the squad today. And Laporte's consistently getting injured. Otamendi, I actually think is not a bad one-on-one defender, but in terms of you're trying to play the ball out from the back, he's not nearly on the same level.
I think he's a terrible one-on-one defender.
Do you?
Yeah.
I think that's his strength in his game.
Nothing
if
said
anything.
on Laporte's injury so far, but a lot of people are saying he was rushed back.
Oh, was that a bit cheeky from Carvajal with a swinging arm? Jesus certainly thinks so.
Yeah.
Did he really think so? I mean, probably out of all the teams, Real Madrid are probably one of the worst to have to go against now, with their defensive record in the Liga being so good.
For sure. I mean,
What does City do, guys?
They're joint with Liverpool for least goals conceded in Europe, Real Madrid. But I think this game is now all about the away goal for City. I don't think they'll be fine if it ends in a draw, but they just need that away goal. Because then it's advantage going into the Etihad, obviously. So big 30 minutes ahead of us.
I definitely wouldn't panic because they have been the better team for the last 15 minutes,
Yeah.
like quite clearly. Just do not panic at the back like that again, because that was just. Yeah,
They've just got to
awful
relax.
see.
They just need one away goal. The away goal is going to be crucial in this tie. The away goal at the Bernabeu, if they get it, could be decisive. Even if they lose 2-1, the away goal might favour them. But Vinicius, I have to say, is running a little bit right down this left-hand side
he is.
for Real at the moment.
Joe, you
really
weren't
good.
keen to make any changes at 55. Now that goal's come in, are you making any changes now? Is this when you're going Sterling? Can you make a difference here?
Potentially you look to bring on Sterling for maybe a Gundogan and then drop Bernardo Silva a little bit deeper, and then play Gabby Jesus through the middle and push Sterling out left. But maybe not. I think they've actually been alright. It's a bit of a mistake, isn't it? And 1-0 is not the worst result at the Bernabeu without Laporte. So I wouldn't be afraid of just not changing a thing.
Yeah, I'd love to see it again, but just on the replay we saw it. Didn't seem like Otamendi was under a whole lot of pressure, and he just absolutely
Why did he
fires
fire
it
it? Yeah.
into Rodri.
And then he gets it back and gives it away.
Yeah, and the ball comes back to Walker, and he's sort of fumbling around with it in his feet. Good play from Vinicius, and it's just a simple finish. But what a shame after a good first start of the second half, I should say.
It's very Real Madrid under Zidane in the Champions League, isn't it?
Yeah, for
Very
sure.
Real
Just
Madrid.
find a way to win.
Slightly dominated and then just find a way to win.
Karim still doesn't pay
Zachary, what are the people making of this change in affairs?
Not a lot. I'll be honest. Not a lot.
Are they slagging
someone
off,
has
slagging
said-
off Walker, slagging off Otamendi?
No, not really.
Oh, okay.
Someone
Just
has said
Real
that
Madrid
apparently
fans,
Laporte may have stretched some knee ligaments.
That's good. At least it's
ligaments.
stretch rather than tear.
Reportedly, anyway. And some others say sums up City's defensive problems this season.
Couldn't agree more.
Losing Laporte.
Go
KDB!
KDB!
These
still
are the
up.
moments for KDB, though, your best player. Come on!
Someone else said Cancelo is getting treated like a youth player at the moment at City. Like Phil Foden. Not
Well, I
getting
think he'll just
any
be
time.
sold in the summer, won't he? Cancelo. What was the point in signing him for that much money?
Ridiculous, especially when they got rid of a perfectly capable backup and should have signed a centre back.
Someone else asked though, Toby has said, #TotalFootball. When Guardiola leaves Man City, who should become their next manager? Keep up the good work, lads. Thank you very much, Toby.
Thanks, Toby. It depends where you're trying to go. If you're trying to go for like a similar sort of style of football, it's
Here
almost,
we go, Kevin.
Oh God!
Go on, Kevin. It's
Oh.
almost pretty difficult to sort of replicate. I'd be sort of more inclined to go for a slightly different style. I think probably the most exciting young option if you're trying to go down that route is probably Nagelsmann. But it's a tricky one, to be fair. How do you replace the replaceable? It's the same issue.
Pochettino. It's got to be Poch. Pochettino. Has to be Poch. I think he's the only manager available
Never won a trophy.
Now that can hold a candle.
Is he going to wait a whole another year? Considering how eager he is to get back to football.
Yeah, I don't necessarily think it would happen, but he is the obvious choice.
Yeah, not going to happen.
Do you think he is the obvious choice?
Yeah, definitely. Best manager's available, isn't it? I don't think they're going to go for Allegri. He just doesn't suit the style of play they want to.
I think
maybe Ten Hag even.
Yeah.
Like I mean, probably not top of their list, but in terms of stylistically,
someone saying Mikel Arteta.
I was just thinking that if Arteta does a reasonable job at Arsenal, gets them, I don't know,
Sean,
into the fourth reckoning next year, considering where they are this year, I think that'd be quite an achievement, and how bad they were under Emery at least.
Tuchel?
Do you reckon he would just leave as well?
I think he would. If you get offered that Man City job after Pep with all that resources,
I'm not sure.
I don't know.
I think Man City. I'm not sure they can afford to go for a manager that inexperienced post Pep in a situation where they might still be in a Champions League bound for a year and a whole squad aging out. It'd be a massive gamble to go.
Always through. Valverde.
Great pace.
Not the worst
good
thing.
goalkeeping
Good thing
by
is
the
I
Henderson
wanted to compliment his pace too, but I don't know whether he was just up against Fernandinho. So he just looked rapid.
maybe.
But
good goalkeeping though.
that is good goalkeeping.
So Joshua here has said hashtag Total Football.
I'm not
if you
gonna
want
do
to
the
get,
hashtag again. I am
if you want to
enjoying
get
it,
your
though.
questions in, please put them in the comments below. I will ask them if they are good enough. That is. And he has said, has Man City's success in the last 10 years been rendered obsolete because of the controversy recently? I guess if it is 100% upheld as well.
Yeah, well, I said this on the podcast last week,
dodgy.
and initially, I thought it was quite funny that Man City had been banned for 2 years, that they'd made such a mess of it. But actually, now I'm quite angry. I feel like I've absolutely.
Vinicius.
It's naughty, isn't it? I absolutely loved watching Man City over the last 3 or 4 years. They've probably been one of my favourite teams to watch in English football history. And it's all built on a lie because they're not even just their signings, but their ability to make these fantastic youth, make their stadium so attractive, make their whole setup so attractive, was all built off fiddling the books. And yes, it's infuriating. I don't find it funny at all. And I'm a Sunderland fan. I can't even imagine what you guys think about it.
Yeah, I mean it's funny. It's funny that the kind of idea that this 2-year Champions League ban is actually like it's that's the thing because the City kind of got away relatively lightly before when this issue came up with UEFA a few years ago. That this ban seems like a big thing, but no, when you look at Juventus having to give up their titles for match fixing, for example, and the Premier League have already said that they're not even thinking about that. And to be fair, I don't particularly care for people getting stripped of their titles, to be honest, because I just think it's kind of not meaningless, but it's not actually. I don't think it makes it any better for the team who came second that year. But surely that is a more fitting punishment. Surely that's because I think if City are found to have breached the rules in the way that they have, then that is tantamount to match fixing, essentially, isn't it? You're still cheating the system in a not the same way, but the effects are the same.
Oh!
So
should have scored.
So yeah, it's a blight on the game. But I don't know. It's really difficult because obviously FFP has only existed for about 10 years.
Yeah.
If 10 years earlier, Chelsea would have faced the same punishment. They won 3 Premier League titles in that era before FFP came in. So it's. I don't know. It's really difficult, but it definitely takes a shine off it. It definitely takes a shine off it. There's no doubt about it.
Fernandinho being caught, trying to clear his lines exactly. Valverde closing him down well, rounded back on the attack. If you are joining us for the first time in this game, please remember to subscribe to Eurofootball Daily and hit that notification bell to never miss one of our
just
Total
a quick
Football
one, Dan.
live streams.
In the Juventus
Yeah,
game, Paulo Dybala's had a fantastic chance, kind of hit the outside of his foot, didn't quite cleanly connect, and we've just seen Cuadrado come off. Gonzalo Higuain is on. Juve going for a goal. Sarri looking very stressed on the touchline, chewing the end of his cigarette as he usually does. But this is a terrible result. Let's have it right for a Maurizio Sarri team that is built with £100 million Ronaldo, Dybala in it, Aaron Ramsey, Rabiot, De Ligt, plenty of summer signings in there for Maurizio Sarri,
Sterling.
and losing 1-0 to a Memphis Depay-less Lyon, who are rubbish domestically.
Yeah, and they haven't looked.
They've been alright today, though. They've been pretty good today.
Yeah, they've done well so far. I'm looking forward to watching that game in more detail later. Yeah. But I mean, like, Juventus haven't convinced at all in Serie A at all in the smaller games. They've done well in the bigger games, but they've lost 2 games against Lazio, I believe. But they did play well in that game against Inter. I think they won that 2-1. Probably should have been more, but. In the biggest stage of all, the biggest test of their season, they have been, so far well beaten by Lyon, who everyone thought was probably one of the most one-sided ties of the round.
Oh no, Carvajal's in! Good defending by Fernandinho.
The tide is slightly turning on this game. Man City are making a lot of issues for themselves here.
Sterling's about to come on, right?
Jesus has been good, isn't he? I still think Jesus had a really good game.
But he's not necessarily, as you say, he's still playing kind of like left wing back at times.
Yeah, but he's played well.
Here we go.
He's had a really good game.
If he wins that there, that's different.
So that's classic. So look at
Ramos is going
Ramos is now pushing up. Ramos has been Real Madrid's top scorer in the last couple of weeks.
Here we go.
It probably is. Oh my god.
Is he going to
back in?
Oh!
Only Ramos.
Talk us through that. What happened there?
Well, I mean, first of all, Ramos wins the ball from Kevin De Bruyne, and then feeds Mendy, it looks like, and then Isco kind of cuts it back off Mendy, and then and then Sergio Ramos' shot is blocked.
It's a great
volley by Fernandinho. Oh, it was just written for Sergio Ramos to score there, wasn't it?
It's classic Ramos.
Here we
So
go.
good.
There's a goal
So
here
good.
that is, made and delivered by Ramos, and who would bet against
What
him?
a
Rising
player.
here as well.
Has he recently brought back that headband, the
Yeah,
white
he
strips?
looks
Because he never
great,
used to,
doesn't he?
did he?
What
That
a
reminds me
player
of when they
Sergio
first
Ramos
bought
is.
him.
Unbelievable.
Yeah,
A legend,
19-year-old
a
Ramos.
legend of the game up there. I think,
Still divides a
especially
lot
in
of
Spanish
opinion.
football. Really?
So, a lot of
How can
at
you
least
not
people
love
on
him?
Twitter. But it.
Edison,
that is a great claim.
well
Is there a counter attack on?
Well
No.
kept. No,
I
he's
think-
annoyed as well.
I think the main criticism. Well, people
Right, go on,
tend
Ben.
to say that Ramos is like not as defensively sound as he's made out to be. But at the same time, if you do have that goal output, that kind of does make up for
And let's face
defensive deficiencies. Like people still see Ronald Koeman as one of the great defenders, and without actually having seen him play, like
And look at this. Look at this.
he probably would have been similar.
Team's defense now.
Exactly.
Fantastic,
Unpassable. Second best in the world at the moment.
Unbelievable.
And we're talking about like defensive
Although I would say with Ramos, like I wouldn't necessarily like he does have Varane next to him. I don't think you necessarily put a bang average centre back next to Ramos and that defence still be brilliant.
That's good, yeah.
In the way that you can with say Van Dijk. I know I'm comparing Ramos to Van Dijk there, and Van Dijk.
Here he comes, Gaza B.
Bale.
Straight off the golf course, straight onto the field.
But I feel like Ramos. He's been at Real Madrid for 14 years. He's been at the centre of one of the best international
Raheem's
sides
on.
we've ever seen as
Get
well.
off. He's off.
Phenomenal player. Raheem is on for Bernardo though, who's done his bit tonight, but probably not been as influential as he'd like. I can't really remember any clear efforts he's
It has
had.
been his season though, hasn't he? He hasn't been anywhere near as influential in games in general.
But I mean, here comes Sterling without a goal involvement in 2020. Been out for 3 weeks. His side are 1-0 down at the Bernabeu. You're expected to come on and make a difference here. This is big for Raheem Sterling.
Massive
On the ball now.
moment
On the
for
ball at the
Raz.
moment.
Okay.
Come on, Raheem.
Yeah, I'm really wanting a City goal here.
No, I want Man City to lose. Don't get me wrong, but I like Raheem Sterling. I want him to do well.
I want City to win.
I'd like to say as well, if you want to, we didn't really finish it, but if you want to hear more about VAR, check out the podcast. The Sunday, is it Sunday Vibes Extra Time now, or is it still
Sunday Vibes Extra Time?
Sunday
Yeah,
Vibes
extra time, extra time.
after the live stream, where me, Doogie, and Patrick talk about Manchester City and the whole FFP and their Champions League ban in a lot more detail.
So bad by Man City defensively, that goal.
Shocking.
Just getting a replay
And
on that
even
goal.
Isco running into the box with that much space.
Should have been Rodri. Should have
Like,
been
where
on
is Benny Mendy
Yeah.
all the way out there?
Yeah,
That's very messy.
yeah, really
Right.
not so good.
Statics. did
You're
they?
a good
Watch
40 metres
Oh,
away, Benny.
Juve are currently on the attack. A little bit of a
it.
counter attack by the looks of
Dybala,
it.
Ramsey.
Oh, really not
Not a
good
good
ball
clearance,
in.
but it was
whoever
slightly
that was.
telegraphed, wasn't it?
Still not over. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. The fat lady has sung. Can I say that?
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
It's
I
been
guess so.
said. It's been said anyway.
Well, with 16 minutes left.
Brilliant
we'll be
play.
fine.
Ronaldo.
Oh,
One
right,
more,
right,
one
right,
more.
right.
Bale.
I'm quite
Interesting.
surprised they're
Vinicius
taking
off Bale.
Vinicius off
I
rather
think
than
he
Isco.
picked up an injury.
Oh, okay.
He's kind
Or
of
at least a
hobbling, is
little
it?
knock.
Or maybe not.
I think he seems okay.
Right, KDB, big opportunity.
Oh, that's
arguably,
wasted by Juve.
arguably the best crosser of the ball in world football. What can you do here?
Not
That's
with
a good
Courtois.
one. Oh, no.
I honestly think if you're an attacking player and you see 6'6" Thibaut Courtois coming out, you just back off.
Yeah, but
And
he had
that-
an absolute honker in the first half.
I don't know. Even then, he got a really good hand to it.
Was not a really.
I think he's got enormous
Also, it's harder.
wingspan as well.
It is harder to create kind of chaos from those kind of free kicks than
they
it is a
are
corner
quite
when
deep.
you're already
so
crowding the
deep.
keeper.
Yeah.
If he's 6'6" with his arms in the air and jumping, he must be about 10 foot tall, but like his reach.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I reckon
It's crazy.
He'd be stupid.
So
that's why for airily they're really good. Real Madrid. Tommy here.
Right,
has
Tommy.
said-
Oh, great ball, Modric.
Here we go.
Fabulous ball by Modric. Here's G Bale. Here's
Oi.
G Bale. Gareth.
Got a good block.
no
Good block
flexing.
there from Otamendi.
It's
Yeah,
really hard
that
to
is-
see, isn't it? In that
Yeah.
area.
Yeah.
It all goes
With the
white.
There's these Real Madrid fans all in white behind
They're
it.
like the
Distracts
ultras,
the
I
ball.
assume. And he has said, talk about the best goal you've ever scored or conceded while playing. Doogie, you've got a great conceding goal.
Oh, yeah. I do. Well, I'm not going to do it in massive detail, but 2 weeks ago I was playing at right centre-back in our 4-1 formation in our six-a-side game.
No kidding.
And our keeper passed it out to us, and I had no pressure on me. And when I say no pressure, I'm not even sure one of their players was in our half. And I dawdled on the ball, and then the ball came off my Achilles almost and rolled towards my goal. And the goalie was out of the goal. And I was shouting at him, and he was shouting at me, and in slow motion, the ball just rolled in. OG.
Oh my god!
And we went on to draw the game, and they were against pretty much bottom of the league, and it was the most embarrassing moment of my entire life. But yeah, that's my recent story. That was only about 2 weeks ago.
Tomlinson, you scored a good goal in Manchester.
Yeah, my best ever
yeah.
goal at Old Trafford in front of the Stretford end. It's the best goal I've ever scored.
Love that name drop.
Yeah, I know.
Well, what
just
it-
Yeah, I
dribble,
mean, not many
a
people-
certain
not many
United
people
fan
can
as
say
well.
it.
dribble past 3 players. Brian Robson in the opposition midfield.
Brian
Fed-
Robson was in the opposition midfield.
Yeah, me and him were having an absolute war.
Really? Did you dribble past him? Did you take it past
Not
him?
in that move. Not
Who
that
was
move.
in the
That's
move? Was there anyone
mad.
famous
It
or
was,
anyone we know in the move?
No, not really. I kind of just picked
Was
the
it
ball
Billy
up deep.
Wingroove or anyone?
Also, nice ball over the
But
top.
yeah, me and Brian Robson having an absolute war
Really?
first half. Yeah, just crunching into tackles with each other, and he did
Oi,
not
Kevin.
working it at all. But yeah, I'd say that's my best ever
mustn't
goal.
he? Oi, oi!
Oh!
It's a goal!
The away goal is scored is Gabby Jesus.
Gabby
It's 1-0.
Jesus.
Massive
What's
goal.
go-
I mean, I think I personally,
Huge goal.
goal.
I
I've got
do.
cramp.
VAR.
I've got cramp.
Gabby, I feel like he does a little push.
It's a huge
got
goal.
cramp. Oh.
He's got
massive.
cramp.
I was too busy thinking about Brian Robson and Joe, but
Oh, look at this
talk us through it,
KDB,
Joe.
lovely.
KDB
Oi,
did
look at-
brilliantly. Stands
Oi!
up. Is there a push there? They could
I
go
don't
to
think-
VAR for a push
I
on
don't-
Ramos.
Courtois.
I
I
mean,
don't think
it's-
so. I don't think
Courtois
so.
had a great
I don't
game,
think
but
so.
could he do better there? Am I being ultra
I
picky?
don't know. He nearly
It's
gets
hard-
to it though, because the bounce is quite tricky, and he
Oh.
pretty much reads it.
I'm sorry. If Ramos is appealing for that to be a push, that is a joke. That is not a push.
He doesn't
By
go
any
down
means.
under the push. So,
Brilliant by Gabby
He was-
Jesus.
he was
has
pulling-
been amazing all night, I
Yeah.
think, Gabby Jesus.
Proved
Fully
you wrong
deserves
at all,
that
Joe?
goal. Probably. But I wasn't expecting to play this role. I
Fair
don't think
dues.
anybody was expecting to play as a left winger tonight, were they? And his energy is what.
Oh, Juve as well.
So yeah, he's been brilliant, and Pep has got it right. Pep's got it totally right.
What
on
a
the
There
night.
is a
KDB
slight.
there,
There's his hands on the back, but there's nothing there.
I'm sorry. I just think Ramos
no.
misjudges it, and then I think
I
Courtois.
think
It's a
because
really difficult
Thibaut
save,
is
but
so tall.
Massive.
It takes a bit longer to get down there and sit on the attack
guys,
again.
I think
City
it's
are
an
on the attack
excellent
again.
header,
They're
man.
going for the win.
Oh,
Right, what do, you,
KDB, go on, KDB.
Oh no.
what do you do now? What do you do now? if
Go
you're
for
Pep?
broke.
Go for the second.
Oh, I don't know. Maybe just
Yeah.
hold on.
Oh my god.
Oh, the
over the
Our TV blurred at that crucial moment, but it looked like it was just over the back.
all the fans in the comments are saying no push, no push.
Never a
Right,
push.
so
I
there's
totally agree.
11 minutes left of this stream. If you have just joined us, please remember to subscribe to Eurofootball Daily and hit that notification bell to never
Great
miss
ball
one of
as
our
well
Total
from
Football
Mahrez.
live streams. We've got a cracking last 11 minutes lined up at the Bernabeu. It is 1-1. Isco's second half goal cancelled out with a Gabby Jesus header. And what a finish we've got here. Zach.
Magnus says, Doogie, do you reckon Man City should have brought on Rashford?
Very good.
Rashford!
I'm waiting for that Rashford moment of 2020. What a time.
Okay, so another one here. It says Vladimir. #Total Football. Is Hudson-Odoi as good as we thought he was when when he first originally came on the scene.
I think he's still so young. What is he? 18? Like
18, maybe
18.
19.
Like
I'd say 19.
he's had a very serious injury, and he's finding his way back. But I don't think not everyone could be Sancho from 18. Like not everyone could be Haaland from 18. He's going to take time to develop.
And also, how good did we think he was going to be? Like he hadn't played much football until this season at all.
Yeah.
Like what was
quite
there?
a bit in the Europa, I suppose.
Well, I presume
Yeah,
the question is, was he warranted the 100k contract that Chelsea gave him?
That's a better question.
I think in some times probably not, but if Chelsea, Bayern Munich offered 40 million for him last summer, didn't they? If Chelsea want to keep hold of him and demand a big price for him in the future, if a team does come in for him, I think it's kind of necessary. Like, I mean, United gave Rashford a 250, 300 grand contract about a year ago, and no one thought that was worth it. And now Rashford is quite rightly valued at around the 80 to 100 million pound mark. And obviously Hudson-Odoi, in terms of his development, is way lower. But I think in comparison, I think 100k's for a really bright young English prospect, I think is actually kind of reasonable. But yeah, I can see why some people would think that maybe he hasn't earned that himself. He probably hasn't. But in terms of where
The
he could go,
context gave it to him, wasn't it? It's the Bayern.
Oh!
It's got to be a pen!
Oh!
It's a pen!
It's a
Oh
penalty!
my
Oh my
God!
days.
Real
Oh my
Madrid have
days.
gone.
We said Sterling needed a big moment, and he has
Oh.
won a
Real
penalty.
Madrid have gone. And do you know
how
what
many
it is? Who
pens
takes
have-
it?
how many
Who
pens
takes
have
it?
seen this?
Who takes it for Man City?
Gabby
Jesus.
Edison.
Get Edison on it. Get Edison on it.
Nah, Gabby
Edison.
Jesus.
Give
Gabby
it Edison
on it.
No, that would be Gabby Jesus.
Oh
He's the
my
man who's had the
days.
best game.
Great, nice
Or
little
maybe
knock
De
on from
Bruyne.
Sterling there.
Oh, it's a
Sterling
horrific
wins
bit
it.
of defending.
Carvajal. Oh, he's nowhere near the ball.
Oh,
he's
Definite
late.
pen.
He's so
Great
late.
knock on
But
from-
great play from Raheem.
Whack myself in the bollocks.
Also, there's no need to make it. He took such a heavy
Literally.
touch.
Wow, this is a disaster for Real Madrid. 2 goals conceded in the opening leg against
But
Man
Man City cannot take
Holy.
penalties.
Can we just say as well?
Wait for the pen.
Mikey McCubbin calling this spot.
And KDB's up for it as well. A KDB masterclass. Could we see it from the penalty spot?
Well, he is a weird shade of pink right now. Here we go.
Courtois. The two Belgians up against each other.
Surely
Which
they
Belgian
can't
will
miss
go
another.
home?
Massive moment.
Surely they can't
Is
miss
this his
another.
first penalty for Man City?
Big-
No,
biggest
he's
moment-
taken
he's
one other.
taken
and
one.
scored
Biggest
one.
moment of the Champions League campaign so far, I would argue.
He
Here we
must score. Come on, Kevin.
go. 82 minutes on the clock. 1-1.
Oh,
he's
Oh,
Great
Great penalty.
Very good penalty.
2 away goals in the Bernabeu. Man
Wow.
City take the advantage. Back to the Etihad in
wow.
what,
Fans are
2-3 weeks
jumping.
time.
On the night.
2-1.
Unbelievable.
Phenomenal. And I just wanted to say, this looks good with hindsight, but this second half, KDB has been phenomenal.
Unreal.
Yeah, even more so because Laporte's serious injury in the first half. He's had to dominate
Massive.
the whole ball because they've got no passing options from the back, really.
Yeah, and he has just picked up pockets of space.
Right.
They've really struggled to mark him this second half. It looks like Real
been
Madrid's
brilliant.
midfield have
He's been
slightly
brilliant.
tired. And what a penalty that is when you need it in the 82nd minute. Just absolute confidence, supreme ability. Bam. Love it.
Fantastic.
Wow, I can't
Real
believe
Madrid
it.
fans ought to be quite shocked for at least 60 minutes of the game.
They
They
capitulated.
were on top.
They've absolutely capitulated it.
Hasn't been good. But then how can you legislate for Carvajal making a tackle
Yeah,
like that?
Carvajal he should not be going in like that.
Who's
That-
coming on here? Luka Jovic.
I really don't
And
think...
Vasquez, I think.
Vasquez. They've got to go for
Or
it
is
now.
it
though.
Vasquez?
They
Yeah,
have
yeah,
to
it's
go
right.
for
Well,
it. They've got no choice
losing
but to get
at
goals.
home in the Champions League is never a good.
If the
good
scoreline
sign.
stays like this, they're out.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
I mean,
long
if
way
it-
to go in
yeah.
the second leg.
I would
Oh,
also like the
Ronaldo
two
wants a
away
penalty.
goals.
Ronaldo wants a penalty. He's absolutely raging in the Juventus
That
game.
man bun is popping
against
all
Leon.
over the place.
He feels like he was pushed from behind when he went out
Let's
for a
have a
header, and it did look suspect. It's a sitter for Ronaldo.
Another
I think there's
injury
enough
as well
in that,
went to Leon Cornet.
So Luka Jovic is
Nah.
on Frisco.
Cornet came off
Yeah, I know.
for Leon, which if he's injured, would not be good for their ever-growing injury list.
No, for sure.
Man City could get a third here on the break.
They
Real
could-
Madrid
they
are
could well
really,
do.
really open.
I want them to be quite sensible though and manage this game because I feel like that
No,
defense
come on.
needs
Go on,
defense
Raheem.
needs to be marshalled. Like I'm not confident
Yeah.
at Fernandinho and Otamendi at centre back at any point.
Get out of the way, ref.
And I think John Stones needs to get back into this team before that second leg because I don't know. There's something about Otamendi in games like this that just worry me. They do. They really do.
Real Madrid haven't been good.
Not
though.
doing anything
Real
good.
Madrid haven't been good.
especially in the
game.
second half.
Second half, they've
Yeah.
been grim to watch.
It's been moments of brilliance,
the
hasn't
goal
it?
came from a howler from City. They've been rubbish, Madrid.
Yeah, I feel like Vinicius has played pretty well, and Ferland Mendy's been alright, but I kind of agree with you.
Oh, he's done him. He's
centre-
roasted him,
Their
Dybala.
centre-backs have played alright
Goal,
as well.
surely. Oh my God, how's he missed?
Oh, guys, if you are joining us for our final 5 minutes of live football, actually, no, with injury time, more like 9, please remember to subscribe to Eurofootball Daily and hit that notification bell to never miss a total football. We've got an absolute bumper end of a game here. Real Madrid are 2-1 down to Man City at home. Kevin De Bruyne has just given them that second away goal.
Oh,
And it could
no,
be a
no,
third! It could be a third!
Oh my God!
That's got to be a red!
He's off.
That has to be a red!
He's yellow card diving him. Is he
He's
yellow
off.
card diving
That's got to be a red!
That's a free kick. He sent him off. He's going to send him off.
He's got to send him
Oh
off.
my God.
Ramos suspended
He's
for the
gotta go.
second leg.
He's gotta go.
got to
Oh!
go. He's off. See you later. Adios, Sergio.
Oh my God.
I mean, this is what we were saying earlier, right?
Sergio
This is
Ramos,
why
man.
people, I guess,
He
have
timed
their complaints.
It's a massive capitulation from Real.
my
Real
God.
Madrid have lost the plot.
This reminds me of Fede Valverde
That's
taking
what you
down Morata. Do you do this if you are Sergio Ramos and Gabriel Jesus is through on goal to make it 3-1 potentially? Do you guys make this call? It's massive.
I don't think he means it.
No,
He runs across him. It's a great touch.
yeah,
I
little.
think he tries. I
Look,
think he,
Gabby probably goes down very easily, but that's what's going to happen when you throw him there.
Sergio, so
he goes down so easily,
Yeah.
man. He goes down
He
so
gets-
He,
He
knows,
knows-
he knows
he
he's
gets
the
the
last
touch.
man.
Fucking brilliant by
If
Jesus.
anything, if he's actually thinking that he can get a red card here and miss the next leg,
Jesus.
mad.
it's probably
Jesus
better than a goal.
phenomenal.
Jesus has been phenomenal tonight.
Him and KDB, absolutely awesome.
How wrong we
I
were.
mean, it's
to say at
also
the
a
start
free
Aguero
kick in a
should be
dangerous
starting.
area, probably a little bit too close, but they've not got some
How
bad
wrong
free
we
kick
were to
takers.
say that Aguero should be starting this
I
game.
agree. What do we know? I feel like this is Gabriel Jesus' best performance of his entire career. He has been. I can't think of
fair
anything.
play,
I can't
fair
think of
play.
anything that tops off at the top of my head. Let us know in the comments
They're
if
in.
you can think of
Real-
anything better.
Juve are in. Dybala.
Goal for
Oh,
Dybala.
Dybala!
He's offside. He's
He's
offside.
offside.
He's offside.
I
No,
wonder
it's just
why
not
there was no
going in
celebration.
for him.
But guys, we've got
Okay,
a
here we
free
go.
kick
Right,
just
it
on the
is
edge of the area.
Mahrez.
Are you going Mahrez or
Oh,
Gundogan?
no, it's Gundogan.
Gundogan.
No,
Mahrez.
Riyad. Oh, smart. Not too bad. I thought he might have done what he did in the AFCON.
Trying to go for one of those cheeky
other
low
side.
ones.
Yeah, that was a great
Massive.
free kick.
Really
Real
good
Madrid
free kick.
have shat their pants
Wow.
so bad here. Honestly.
There is probably 8 minutes left of this game, and
Oh,
City
look at
have an
Ederson.
enormous,
Just loving
an
it.
enormous
Loving
opportunity to get a third here, and they are going for it as well.
How things can just flip in
Yeah.
football. It's mental. Like
Real
for,
Madrid have been-
for good
have been
60 minutes,
poor.
they were all right. Real
don't know
Madrid
whether they
on
were.
top.
I feel like Man City have had the better chances pretty much throughout. A bar that error from Walker, and they'd be home and dry in this game.
Oh wow! I can't believe how.
I mean,
Real Madrid
we
fell
did.
apart.
Although Edison did make that amazing save in the first half, I did forget about that.
Yeah, but so did Courtois.
Yeah.
You guys spoke earlier about the ups and downs of Sergio Ramos, and I mean, I don't know whether a goal in the La Liga will quite make up for his red card in this. But if it wins
But
the
that is,
title,
his lack of discipline is a big thing, and like,
it's
but it's
big,
just,
yeah.
I don't know, just the narrative of him trying to get that, get the foul off Jesus' push in the build up to the goal, and then his tiny little nudge getting himself sent off. It's just you couldn't write it, could you?
Forgot his involvement in that first goal as well. Outjumped by Jesus.
Not a good day.
Seemed like he was trying to appeal for a sort of free kick there as well. Not
Kyle
good from
Walker.
Sergio Ramos
fantastic
at
from Kyle
all.
Walker there.
Not a good day at the office.
get it on the right. Get it on the right.
In
But like I
contrast,
said, KDB masterclass 2-1. Could,
He-
Mys-
I
could
mean,
the
you have
Mystic Mike be on again?
Absolutely called this, by the way.
he has
Mystic
been
Mike is
absolutely
always
amazing.
right.
Penalty surely for Juve.
Really?
No, doesn't look it.
How's it not been given?
Oh, VAR.
But there could be another in the Bernabeu. Oh no. So I'm getting a bit overexcited now.
How's
You're
this
getting
not
on
been given?
Doogie on total football. It wouldn't be
How's
total
this not been
football
given as a
without it.
penalty? How's it not been given?
Rashford.
Ooh, that's. I mean, that's better. That's a better,
better
shout than the one
last
before.
one.
Yes, that's a pen.
Oh,
think
another
grabs his
chance.
arm,
might give
Ferland
it.
Mendy.
Oh, headed away.
Sorry, Benjamin Mendy. My bad.
Why has that not been given as a pen?
It might be. VAR might look at it.
Surely VAR's got to give
Surely
that.
VAR's
man.
going to look at that Juve incident.
Guys, look how much City are stretching round.
Oh,
though. It's-
lovely from KDB
They are
there.
completely dominating, as you'd expect, with going against 10 men. But
No
they
pen.
need. I need another goal here. Would just kill it.
So, guys, who is your man of the match at the moment? And who is also your guys'
Yeah, get
man
in
of
the
the
comments.
match? Please let us know in the comments below, and I will tell some to the guys and battle their opinions with yours.
Jesus is there?
Yeah, I'd have
Gabby
to say
Jesus?
Jesus. In terms of
I'm
in terms
torn.
of the
I'm
full,
torn.
I think KDB has been unreal in the last like
Great
20,
fans.
25 minutes. Really dictated things. Obviously created the goal, scored the pen, but Jesus for the full 90 has hardly put a foot wrong. To be honest, he just terrorised that defence, hasn't he? Even when he wasn't really getting much support in the first half.
Sorry, I was going to say, for a full 90 performance, you've got to go Jesus. But I feel like in the big moments in the second half, De Bruyne has really stepped up as well. But yeah, Jesus, probably man of the match. But what a performance from KDB
And what a decision by Pep to not play Sergio Aguero in this one and instead use Jesus as a winger. Nobody saw it coming using Jesus as a winger and Bernardo Silva as a false 9. Genius.
Yeah.
Bit of management.
But it is, but it's one of the few. And also, we were criticising Pep earlier for overthinking things. He went with a very strange system, at least in the first half today.
I think he did change it at half time.
He did change it at half. Yeah, it did seem to change it a bit more at half time, but
Guys,
still got.
doing? Sorry.
Still went into half time not down. I don't know, he's pulled it off.
Yeah,
City have been so much better.
Massive
Pep
result.
Totally getting it right tonight. Go on, Sterling. Sterling.
Oh,
Sterling.
here we
Rather
Just
better
been
shot.
a little cherry
Bit
on the
more to the
top
corner.
there. Right, there's
Just need to wait
2 minutes left of this one. If you're joining us for the first time, please remember to subscribe to EuroFootball Daily and hit that notification bell. We have seen an absolute classic as it's turned out. First 30 minutes were a bit dry, but wow, what a final 60. It's been class.
Leon,
not been
the
too
crowd
bad.
at Leon is absolutely jumping, and Juve are battering the door down, by the way, at the moment in France. They are losing, but they are battering the door down. Ronaldo!
Oh,
Yeah, we've barely given that enough credit because it is on a very small screen, but what a result this would be for Leon. But yeah, Juventus have really turned on the pressure in the last half. But here we go with City again on the attack.
Mahrez.
It's
Mahrez.
pretty much
so
3 on
much
3.
space.
Give it! Give
Oh
it!
my God!
Go on, Riyadh!
Oh, give it!
No,
That's
Pass the
way-
ball!
Never.
That was 3 on 3,
needs
and
to-
he got too cocky there.
Fire a bit earlier or pass it.
Yeah.
I'd probably say from the comments, it's KDB that seems to have won it.
Fair enough.
Someone
tight
has
between the two.
suggested Edison. One decent save.
Made one save.
Maybe
innit?
good save.
And
Credit-
apart
credit
from
for that
that, apart from that, that's really been it. It's mainly been KDB and a couple of shouts for Jesus. Someone also said Fernandinho when he came on the pitch for the substituted Laporte.
I think they've
Oh,
been,
dear.
I think
Wow.
they've been quite shaky at the back. I don't know why.
Furlong Mendy, that's a great chance, isn't it, for Furlong
This is
Mendy?
that Ronaldo chance. Oh no, he's just flicking it. That was his attempted assist.
That's
Right,
a really
this-
good chance for Furlong Mendy, by the way. I'm not.
It
Mahrez
is,
just
it
falls
is.
asleep at the back post.
He hits him on the shin
Gets it horribly
or the
wrong.
knee.
doesn't
if
it?
anything.
Gets it horribly wrong. Couldn't have got it any worse.
Bounces just before him and comes off his knee or his shin. It's quite an ugly attempt.
Squiff.
1 minute to go in this one. What a result for Pep Guardiola's Man City. We were talking so much pre-game about how this is pretty much what their season will be defined by, this run in the Champions League. And they fully deserve this victory in my book. I don't know whether you guys think
Totally
the same. They've obviously had their issues, but Laporte's gone off injured and they have conceded.
That is a terrible
Oh, God.
pick. Edison,
lordy.
normally fantastic.
Great
from
pace. Come on, Walker, you got in there. Just play it long.
Fair play.
Oh,
there we go.
no! Oh no!
Why didn't
There's
you
no
put that
way.
for a throw
There's
in?
no way.
Oh,
Edison had one of the worst goal kicks I've ever seen.
And we've been complimenting his goal kicks all
That's
day long.
horrific by
Oh,
Furlong.
you have to be doing better.
Furlong Mendy has been
Weak
utter
foot.
rubbish tonight, by the way. Utter rubbish.
I think it's
Full
harsh.
time.
Full time.
Full time, and it's
Incredible
What's
result.
going on? What's going on
No,
at Juve?
someone, I don't know, Ronaldo's getting...
Leon.
Someone's on the floor with after Ronaldo maybe gone up for a header with him.
City fans up in the
Bale
gods
doesn't
of the
look too
Bernabeu are
disappointed.
delighted. City have beaten
What
Real
a
Madrid 2-1 away from home. Europe's joint best defence. They scored 2 goals against them. KDB has put on a masterclass in that second half, and Gabi
get out.
Jesus, as I said before, probably his best performance of his career. McCubs, from a Real Madrid perspective, are you slightly disappointed by that? What do you think Zidane's thinking right now? Is it opportunity missed?
Yeah, massively. I just think, I don't know. I think it just shows that I don't know. It just shows that I think Guardiola, at least in this game, was just the better tactician. I think he saw that City wasn't necessarily getting the best out of his City side in that first half, and just after half time, just City seemed to win that midfield battle so much more. I think Real Madrid didn't do enough with the ball in the first half. They obviously had a lot of the ball, had a lot of control, just weren't inventive enough at all. Relying a lot on Benzema up top, and he didn't really get enough space. And in the second half, City just turned it on, and fully deserved. So it's worrying for Zidane now because he doesn't have his captain for the second leg.
Has his potential out for the season.
Yeah, I mean he's gonna have to bring
Madrid are out. Madrid are gone.
Into the squad. Do you think?
Yeah, Madrid are out.
I'm not ruling them out just yet, but I feel like that was that if they got a third there, potentially that would have been game over. But what a result from City and what a turnaround, because that quite difficult to recover from like a really tragic mistake at the back like that around 60 minutes and come storming back into that and probably should have won by, scored at least 3 in the end. So what a performance. Zach, let's fire in some questions from the lads and ladies.
Well, indeed. If you've got any questions about the game, please get them in the comments right now so the boys can answer them. I mean, quite a lot of love going to City right now in the comments. They're saying, who are the favourites now of going through in the rest of the fixtures? And do City look like they may win the Champions League?
Joseph, what do you reckon?
Well, Real Madrid, I think, are going to go out. I don't see them producing anything second leg after that showing. I just didn't think they put anything together. Juve have obviously just lost away at Lyon, a horrific result for Maurizio Sarri, who is now having an absolute whiffer of a season. If he doesn't win Serie A and goes out of the Champions League, he should be sacked. 100%. That would be an appalling season for Maurizio Sarri. If he doesn't win Serie A on the first attempt and he goes out of the Champions League to Lyon, he's got to go. Especially with managers like Pochettino waiting about in the wings at the moment. Not good enough. Bayern are definitely going to go through against Chelsea. That could get ugly over in Bavaria. I think Frank must be realistic about that result and just take it with a pinch of salt. Effectively, whatever happens over there. What are the other games?
We've seen some big, like the German side.
Tottenham,
really
RB
well.
Leipzig. RB Leipzig winning 1-0.
I thought RB Leipzig were great. In that.
Again, Leipzig are going to go through there.
No one wants to draw one of those German sides.
With no Kane or Son.
I feel like Dortmund are probably the weakest defensively, but you don't want to play Dortmund with the sort of firepower up front. Like
Bayern playing PSG, they're going in 2-1.
I do think PSG will beat them there, though.
We've seen some pretty big shocks though. Liverpool have lost, Real Madrid have lost, PSG have lost, Barcelona drew away at Napoli. Like it seems like the traditional big dogs, at least in their own domestic leagues this season, are sort of struggling in Europe so far.
Yeah.
Perhaps, who do you reckon are your favourites?
Yeah. What for the Champions League?
The Champions League and
it's really difficult because PSG and Liverpool were my 2 favourites, and they both lost their first legs. So yeah, it's a tough one. I still kind of think PSG. I think Man City with a performance like that tonight. I think that they're obviously in it as well. They always have been, but that's definitely any doubts that I had over Man City's pedigree in this tournament. Definitely gone after that. Look at Noel Gallagher celebrating,
loving it.
Yeah, I think Man City, Liverpool, and PSG, and Bayern Munich. I think those are the 4. Those are the 4.
Yeah, for sure. Guys, we're going to do about 5 minutes of quick-fire questions, so get them in the comment section. And if you have just joined us, remember to subscribe to the channel as well. Click that red button just below the screen. Zach, let's fire in some questions.
Thomas says, #TotalFootball. Do you actually think Dortmund can win the Champions League?
Personally, I think they'll go out to PSG. I think that away goal was massive. And I just think that at the Parc des Princes, I know that Neymar is probably going to miss it, isn't he, through injury? He's injured again for Brazilian Carnival season. So I think PSG will still go through in that game. But Dortmund's defence just might fall.
Verratti's out as well, though, for PSG, isn't he? For the second half. I think he got a second yellow. Yeah. So yeah, it's really tough. I actually I usually quite like PSG, just like constantly flopping, but I kind of feel like it's just about time that they did well in the Champions League, so it'll be disappointing.
Yeah. I'm a bit sceptical that Dortmund will be able to go far enough in the competition to win it with that defence. I think they've conceded the joint most goals in the top 7 in the Bundesliga, so not for me.
Even with the boy wonder Haaland.
Even with the boy wonder.
Top bin.
Has to stop eventually, though, doesn't it?
I don't know though. You said that about Mbappe a few years ago. It did happen in the semis, but.
No, I know what you mean. Right, Zach, let's get another one.
Swapnell says, which will be the most interesting / what is your most ideal draw for the quarterfinals?
Oh God!
Wow.
What the matchups?
We need to get there first.
Who do you want to see face each other?
I think Bayern PSG would be quite interesting.
That'd be fun.
I want to see Bayern Liverpool. I think they're the 2 best teams in it.
Bayern Liverpool.
That would be a rematch from last season as well, when like Liverpool were easily better and Bayern have improved so much since then. Bayern City as well would be great. Liverpool City would be brilliant as well.
Do you
I'd
watch
love to see a
do you
rematch.
remember the Dortmund Leipzig game in December, was it? And it was like 3-3, I think. That was a fascinating game of like very little defending.
The worst defending I've ever seen.
Yeah,
the
so,
worst goalkeeping.
So like 2 games of that and a tie of that would be class. And I think in the quarterfinals you can meet teams from your own nation. So I quite like to see that. Should we have a finale?
Yes.
One last one then.
What's going to happen with Juventus?
Well, they've got a big. I think they're 1 point ahead of Lazio at the moment. Lazio are on an amazing run. Everything they hit seems to, turn to gold at the moment. There's question marks of Juventus. They just haven't been convincing at all this year. They're supposed to be integrating a new style of play. They're supposed to be integrating new players. It hasn't happened quickly enough or effectively enough. Need to watch the highlights of this game, but it seemed like in the first half they were at 6s and 7s against a Lyon side that haven't been pulling up trees in France. God, I'm putting in a few cliches there, aren't I? But yeah, I think Sarri, as Joe says, I wouldn't say he needs to be sacked, but he'll be
At the end of the season,
he'll be
if he doesn't win
under
the Champions
enormous
League,
pressure.
If he doesn't win Serie A and doesn't win the Champions League,
I don't think they're anywhere near winning the Champions League, to be honest.
Okay,
Minimum
so if he
requirement
doesn't
is
win
Serie A.
Serie A, he surely has to go.
Yeah, it depends how committed they are to overturning this philosophy, but I think the philosophy hasn't really come to fruition. So
I think they'll beat Lyon though in the second leg. I don't see them losing.
Cristiano shows up.
Yeah,
fair.
sure.
So of the ties we've watched tonight, you think Juventus will go through,
I think so, yeah.
and you think City will go through?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to stick with that. I can't see
Same.
Real Madrid overturning that. Joe thinks the
Yeah,
same.
same.
Zach, you
Screw it, you're all the same. I'll say Real Madrid will go through.
fair.
Oh.
And is there
Dreamer.
what people want to know? The fans, they want to know: do Chelsea have any hope?
100%.
Yeah.
Crazy things have happened.
Oh no, they
You
haven't.
watch,
No,
Lewandowski-
they literally haven't.
Lewandowski
The voice of the
out.
Chelsea YouTube channel right here. You heard it first.
There we go. But guys, thank you so much for joining us on our stream tonight. If you haven't already, please subscribe, leave a comment on what you enjoyed, etc., etc. And we shall see you probably for the quarterfinal, in a couple of weeks' time, or maybe a last 16 tie next week. We need to work it out. Although I think we might be doing a football social for one of them. Anyway, so we'll be in touch about when the next one is. Thank you very much to Joe. Thanks to McCubs. Thanks to Zach. Please remember to subscribe, and we shall see you next time. Bye. See you later.